Reacher, of course, is the antithesis of what Hollywood and streaming services largely want to push these days. Mostly because it stars a strong male character who is also straight, and also the actor behind Reacher, whose name is Alan Ritchson, is an openly devoted Christian man. That last part is very important, by the way, because largely in this day and age, Christianity as a religion is dogpiled on and attacked constantly. Things like the woke mind virus absolutely do go out of their way to attack religion.
That's interesting that he says woke mind virus.
The word woke. I hate the word woke. I think it is absolutely egregious abuse of the gift of language. I think we should be vilifying the use of this word. When we use language, we have an obligation and a responsibility to be so specific that people cannot mince our words, that people cannot misunderstand what we're getting at. But when we use a word like woke, it gives all the latitude to the hearer to fill in the blanks about what I'm actually saying. What is a woke? Is it a noun? When Ron DeSantis was recently reelected, he said Florida is where woke goes to die. Is woke a noun? Is woke a living, breathing thing? How can it go there to die? Whatever could you mean, Ron DeSantis? What could you actually be saying in your veiled contempt? Well, leave it to the hearer to fill in the blank. The word woke has come to be a substitute for whatever we hate the most, whatever we despise the most, whatever we vilify, whatever we want to rally around, whatever our monster is, that is the woke. How can woke go to die? Well, we don't want to say it because it's gross to say. I would like gay people to go die in Florida. We will wipe them out. Or transgendered people will get wiped out in Florida. Blacks, we're going to wipe them out in Florida. See, we can't say that, so we substitute it with an abusive word like woke that allows you to do the heavy lifting. What a cowardly thing to do, DeSantis, and anybody else who tosses that word around flippantly.
There's a reason people like in the West are starting to draw more and more towards, Korean or Japanese filmmaking. It's precisely because it's a bit different from what we get. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, what is the most recent Japanese film, or at least entertainment that you enjoyed so far?
What am I thinking of? See, a lot of them would be older ones, like Old Boy, for example.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that one. I know it's not Japanese, but yeah, probably stuff like that. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I really like that. And it's like Chinese, I think. But yeah, like it's...
Right, this is the new Kraven the Hunter trailer, so let's take a look at this movie. Subscribe.
My son, we are
Oh,
hunters.
it's a lot of white
The
people.
greatest the world has ever known.
It's a white person. It's a white guy. A lot of white people. I don't know that language. Is that another white guy?
Who's next?
Subscribe. Good grief, that costume.
Are you like your father, a gangster?
It's a lot of white people, don't you think?
Killer?
And I heard a voice. And behold.
I mean, I guess the white guy's getting killed in that scene. You can't have that in Hollywood these days.
There's a man going round taking names.
My son,
And he decides
A lot of men, too.
and who to blame.
we are an animal.
Yeah, more men, and they're white, because, of course.
Will stand up.
Tell me about this hunter.
Some are born and some are died.
Once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
When the man comes around.
How much you want to bet it's a white guy doing this trailer song? Guns. I like guns.
You assholes.
Holy fuck the diversity. You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch.
Do not post any hateful content or make hateful comments.
You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch.
We need the Glen box.
Oh yeah, give us the Glen box.
Come on.
Damn, where is it at?
I'm bridal. Diversity.
Do not post any hateful content. It's not okay ever to post videos that could provoke hatred.
You can pick up the softback trade paper.
The what now? The fucking what?
How do you build stuff, man? Like in water?
Underwater welding. It's one of the most essential jobs on the planet.
Give me the damn money, Glenn.
The thing where you like, right, you do that, you sprinkle it on top. It adds a little like spice on it. Yeah. It comes. You guys should try it.
And you can do it too.
Yeah, like if you build your entire internet persona around being a smarmy motherfucker, like you better have some bulletproof shit.
I want to watch Hulk punch that dog in the dick again. Because he does. He punches that Hulk dog right in the dick.
We remove content promoting violence or hatred against members of protected groups.
It is viscerally disgusting listening to this thing prance and dance around screen.
Well, I was curious about what this thing is.
Clearly a dude. It's really gay.
Yeah, it sounds retarded.
The most disturbing shit.
Quite retarded.
Yeah, like we didn't need that quote to know that freak we had on screen for way too long is fucking mentally ill.
They don't actually want Disney or Marvel or Lucas or any of these companies to change what they're doing because it would destroy their business model, and there is no financial incentive for them to be happy or excited about any of this. So this entire video that I clipped this from is absolutely disingenuous. I don't believe you, Critical Drinker, and I definitely do not believe Gary from Nerdrotic.
Bombshell indictment. U.S. prosecutors allege a media company linked to conservative influencers who regularly reach millions, including Benny Johnson. Was secretly funded by Russian state media employees.
And a little busy this week in the old news section of the internet. There is one man who has joined us in the fight against evil and is a fellow warrior, and all hail the fellowship. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers.
Seriously, congratulations, man. Hitting 2 million. I love it. I appreciate everything you've done for us. And it's been great to get to know you, man. It's been awesome to see.
We got Nerdrotic. Oh! Gary up on the channel. Gary, I want to give you all the time and glory in the world, man. But I gotta bring on the great Alex Jones.
Oh,
yes! Alex Jones!
It is awesome to be here.
Here we go, boys.
Well,
we got
the champagne ready.
Oh, yeah. Inevitable.
3, 2, 1, 2 million.
I couldn't even get my champagne open.
Yes. Let's go!
Is it me? Is it you?
Who knows? Okay, you the big bad booty daddy.
They're all liars and grifters. They just want their paychecks to put money in their bank account. That's their grift.
Hey guys, sorry, I have to go.
I guess Turf has to go. Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Oh, sorry, just quickly need to just butt in here and tell you guys that sorry, I need to leave now. So it's been a pleasure.
All right, fair enough. Man, my shit's fucking up again. Oh my god, what's going on here? It's like making holes in me again. God damn it. Hey, welcome everybody to the Shillcast. I'm Dane. Along with
hello.
these other people, whenever they want to come on, you know, they can do that. They have that ability.
They have the power
to bring
to.
themselves on.
Free will.
Want like
Good.
Hey,
good attempt.
I
Dane.
just
we all
want to
know
let you
that
guys know I have to go.
Okay.
Oh, me too. By the way.
Hey, I wanted to say congratulations to Benny Johnson for 2 million subscribers, man. Like clearly he earned every one of those, and he got there really organically.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So just cool. Good for him.
Proven not to have any Russian influence at all. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, man. Hey, DJ's here. I mean, Eric's here.
Yes, Eric. I need to get used to that. It just gets confusing whenever we talk about Eric July.
That's exactly what I
were
said.
just saying that
yeah.
before.
Like literally before you got here.
Oh man. Well, here we are.
Yeah. This is
Doing
this
a
is
show.
all of us.
That's it.
Yes. There is no one else on the show today.
Wait, where's the rest of the initiative members according to Reddit? I'm trying to...
Oh, Mark Hughes. I haven't seen him since that one time he was on.
Pillar of garbage needs to get in here.
Yes.
Yep. Or alternatively, we could just bring on Birdman. Hey.
Ooh, hey.
Hello.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
How's it going? Yeah.
I am doing very well, and it's going pretty good.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I guess the way to introduce. I mean, if anybody doesn't know who he is, that's kind of crazy. But you know, you started off you big success with Cinema Sins, which is objectively better than Cinema Sins. You know, and then more. I mean, you know, you said you've kind of gone at these guys a few times in your videos, but only recently did you like start making, you know, target kind of like very specific videos about, you know, first was just kind of the grift generally, and a few guys, and then Critical Drinker was the most recent one, and it was really freaking good.
Yeah, you know, so 2018, I uploaded my first Cinema Sins video, and really I started that series because I noticed he was saying wrong things, right? Mm-hmm. And the first video that I made was about Blade Runner 2049, which is my third favorite film of all time.
It's one of my favorites.
So, amen. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
It's so good. I'm really sad that it you know faltered at the box office.
No,
or whatever.
I mean the first one did too. So I just hope it finds an audience because it's so fucking good.
Agreed. I can't wait for the new TV show coming out with Michelle Yeoh. That's going to be pretty good. I think.
I mean, it's no Star Wars. Let's be honest.
Sure.
So anyway, you know, I did it for a few years, and everything was good. Everything's fine. But then I started to notice people started talking about certain movies a certain way, and I didn't really get it because, like, you know, I don't consume the grift sort of content, you know what I mean? Like I was watching Critical Drinker years ago, and then I started noticing things about the way that he would talk about movies. And I don't know if you guys seen my tweet on this, but like in 2021, I was like, you know what? I'm done with this dude because like everything is, if it's not straight white male, it's bad. So I just stopped watching him at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So years go by, I'm just like, noticing all these people talking about these things. I'm hearing stuff about Star Wars. I'm hearing stuff about, you know, Marvel. So I'm like, these guys they're wrong like Cinema Sins. So I just started taking shots, you know, in my videos. And people were like, hey, Birdman, are you gonna ever like make a full video on these guys? You should do an everything wrong with the Critical Drinker. And I was like, you know, I do actually want to talk about the type of shit that they're talking about. So I guess I have been taking notes for a while, and I just decided, right?
Yeah.
I just decided to throw it all into a video. And, you know, I made, well, technically the Drinker video is the second one, but I just decided to throw all that into a video about him. And I have more planned. You know, I have, it's not just the Critical Drinker for me. It's, you know, the Quartering, it's Geeks and Gamers, it's all of those guys that you know form that nebulous of hate against these movies and things like that. So that's really what it is. And I see you see one of my most recent videos. I just uploaded a video. It was me responding to this guy who's an MRA. He didn't like the first video that I put up, so it's
nice.
wild. That video is insane.
I first just thought, I was like, oh, you're just doing like a shoe review. I was like, that's a bit like off brand compared to the rest, but cool.
Yeah, it's a joke in the video.
It's a weird, weird
nice. Yeah.
I mean, you know, we haven't really covered them. Maybe we mentioned them a little bit here and there, but it is kind of weird that we've haven't covered them. But like, yeah. So what about Nerdrotic? You looked into him at all?
So here's my opinion on Nerdrotic. I think he's a piece of shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse here.
No, yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Like more
fucking
than,
no.
Yeah, fucking stop.
I don't like him at all. You know, I used to watch The Critical Drinker, so I understand the appeal. I don't get the appeal of Nerdrotic at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So
yeah,
he
that's
will
the thing.
be
So like
getting put in a video.
Yeah, if you watch a Critical Drinker, like you can watch lots of like just reviews from him, and it'll be fine.
Right,
Nerdrotic,
and that's
all of
why
it
I
is just
did.
awful. Yeah,
That's why I did, because I'm a film reviewer. So
I'd say the
care about film.
CinemaSins isn't really a grifter. Would you say they are?
CinemaSins?
I mean, I feel like they're just lazy, maybe, and I don't know.
Yeah, I always felt the difference between these guys and CinemaSins is that like CinemaSins just I guess maybe it's just hiding to a degree. We'll also just say that they're joking, which still isn't great, but like at least they'll admit they're dumb. Whereas these guys just double down on their dumb shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the
time.
CinemaSins is pretty harmless compared to a lot of these guys.
Yeah, that's I have the same opinion. Is that they're fairly harmless compared to these guys. But I will say that I've been making the case for a long time that they are responsible for these know-it-all people who think that what they're saying is objectively true.
Yes.
You know, whenever you hear, "Oh, I'm objectively critiquing a movie," it's like, bro.
Oh, have we heard that? I'm trying to think if we've heard that.
Never heard that in my life.
Well, we've heard it. And I saw that you had gotten into, or I don't know how engaged you were with it on your end, but I saw this these guys from like Ecom or something like that were coming at you, making videos about you.
Yeah. So yeah, I know it's a very weird name. They're, you know, Mauler wannabes.
EFAP clones, yeah.
Oh, sure.
And that's why they're called Ecom. Get it? FAP.com. Yeah.
Yep.
Hilarious.
So what is it? A few years ago, 2 years ago, I think, this guy named Madvocate decided to include me randomly in one of his videos. And, you know, I'd never heard of the guy before. And he just like took a few shots at me. It wasn't really that big a deal, but I just decided to respond as a point of honor. Like you see that video, the top left where it says my response, where I'm responding to the MRA, my latest video. That's exactly what I did to him. So I just kind of responded to what he said, and his fans went ape shit, and they just decided to, you know, start critiquing me, and then started making videos about me, especially this guy named Shandy Dasquire. So I responded to him. I made a couple videos on him. I do not shy away from criticism. So when people, you know, say something about me, I will take a look at it and respond if I feel like it's necessary. So that's where the Ecom guys came in. They're just Mauler wannabes, just like Madvocate is a Mauler wannabe. So that's what they're doing to me. And I really only watched the one video that they made. Is there multiple? I don't even know.
I mean, I know that it seemed like they were doing like a kind of an Inception type of thing where it was like Shandy was showing a video that was Madvocates talking about something else. I think, I don't know. Just like, okay. You know, who knows? You know, I just was paying attention to how like these guys, they have a really good vocabulary. They just don't know how to use it for any kind of actual analysis of film or anything.
I see.
You know, so they just like spend all their time like coming up with really fucking cleverly worded insults and shit. And it's just like,
yeah,
not anything of substance, man.
I was called a variety of colorful names in Shandy's video. That type of stuff doesn't really bother me. Like I don't really think about it too much. But yeah, that's what I noticed about them is they just wanted to insult me.
Yeah,
as opposed to, you know, understand what I'm trying to say.
I'm on their page now, the Ecom page, and it's interesting to me because EFAP actually has a meaning behind that name. Like that's what makes it funny. Right. Ecom is just a very dumbed down way of copying what EFAP is. And it says they're managed by a very critical Brit. So literally they're not only copying like EFAP's whole entire format, but the person that manages the channel is basically the critical drinker, I guess. It's like
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I didn't even
It's
know.
weird.
I never even looked into these guys. I didn't even want to respond to
Yeah,
Ecom. It's like
I have a
okay.
weird obsession with like digging through these channels when they come into my radar. So
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever
Yeah.
heard of them, and yeah.
We've heard of EFAP quite a bit. You know,
yeah.
we tried to get them to have
I haven't heard
conversations
much
with us.
about
They wouldn't
Ecom.
do it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
changed their policy on talk to people since with us pretty much. So I feel
specifically for
official.
us, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I find it very interesting, like hearing that you don't care about the insults, which I think is definitely needed to make content about them, because you've probably experienced that they come, like their fans come for you hard, after you've made a video. I can imagine there's some not very nice comments on the Critical Drinker one that we see right here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and because we do see a lot of people come into this space, start to call these people out, have good intentions, and then just get bombarded, and they're not ready for that. And and the insults get to them, and that's fair. I don't think it's necessarily normal to be able to take that amounts of insults and then not have it affect you. But that's where it's like it's needed to make these kind of videos, to not have that stuff affect you. To just not care. Like, I care about people I respect criticizing me. That's something I care about.
Yeah.
I don't care about people who have no fucking clue who I am, who are just fanboys of a channel that I think is disgusting. I don't care that they come and put a bunch of insults, And it's like I think that's the mentality that is kind of needed to make this kind of content.
I agree with you. Like, if Jeremy Johns or Chris Stuckman says something about me, I probably would take it a little bit more serious than say a troll on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I think I'm uniquely prepared for this, because I've been talking about CinemaSins for going on 7 years now, and they are much bigger than the Critical Drinker and any of his cohorts. And I've been getting this type of vitriol for years. It doesn't bother me. It's something I've just been dealing with, and I know how to handle it.
I mean,
Like,
honestly,
if you go in any of my videos, I talk shit to these people. I talk back. I'm not afraid of mixing it up in the comment section at all.
A lot of these guys that show up and just like, hey, they have these fucking disgusting, vile insults, and they're defending like vile content and stuff. I see that as like a badge of honor, man. I'm like, that's basically a compliment to me at this point.
Yeah,
because a lot of the time,
dude, then I'm good.
A lot of the time, they indirectly affirm your arguments. You're like, yeah, you're proving me right. Like, someone comes in, you've just called their messiah a bigot or something, or like called them weird, and then they write something bigoted, or they say something weird, or they do exactly what you just called them out for. And you're like, well, thank you, very nice of you.
I have been saying that for so long. It's like you guys are defending a guy that I'm saying is an ism, a racism, a sexism, and then you come at me and then do the ism towards me. It's like, yeah, I know. Exactly.
In one of Jeremy's recent videos from Geeks and Gamers, he says he's going to grift because people call him a grifter. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cool, bro.
I mean, you were already doing that, but okay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's one. Jeremy is the more outspoken one about like the whole grifting thing. A lot of them get very touchy about it, but he's just and I don't know if that's respectful or not, or just I don't know, but he does it.
I do love anytime
Wait,
you
sorry.
see like somebody comes up and says like I'm a grifter or something in that community, and then Gary's face just go.
Gary gets so annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Have you seen that clip from Friday Night Tights where Jeremy Geeks and Gamers just like, we do is we take a little thing and make a big narrative out of it, right?
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And then especially Gary gets very, very upset about it.
He looks kind of troubled right at first there.
Yeah. But just quickly bringing it back to when you because we mentioned CinemaSins, and I agree that like them and themselves are not nearly as bad as some of these other channels, but still, with the amount of years that they've been big and the impact they've had, I do believe that they have had a very negative impact on how a lot of people view and analyze and understand film and TV and culture and stuff. And you know, we've seen offsprings of it, like the EFAPs, like the Maulers, who think that, oh yeah, film is objective, you know, and if you minutely go around and nitpick things, right, that's the same as movie criticism, you know. And I think that's had a very bad impact, and at the same time, that also allows people like these grifters who are saying bigoted shit to do the same thing, right? It's like, oh well, The Acolyte is objectively bad because look at this tiny little, there's a fire in space, right? And look, there's black people as well. Like it's almost like gone to the extreme, and it's like, yeah, that's a bad effect.
Everybody's so desperate to like defend their fucking opinions as being some kind of fact, and it's absurd. Yeah, media literacy is sorely lacking.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that, and I've been saying this, you know, I think in my Sonic 1 video, I said that CinemaSins is just responsible for this glut of idiot YouTubers that think they know better than filmmakers, that think that they know how to make movies. And it's weird because like none of these people are making movies.
Oh,
so, you know, I'm like, if they knew better, I mean, these guys have the resources, don't they? I mean, like look at the type of crowdfunding Eric July was able to get. You know what I mean? Like, look at the amount of funding these people are able to acquire from their rabid fan base. It would seem if you really cared about how movies were made, you would get into the field and try to change that.
But yeah, no, it's all about just making money, man. Well, like using fandom and art as just like another revenue stream.
That's one of the things that makes them grifters to me. Is like, I don't think that they really care. I think that they're looking at these films and they're using films to push rhetoric. They're rhetoricians, and they're using film and media to disguise that and to push that rhetoric to their crazy large audiences. And that's one of the reasons why I stood up, was because like I actually care about this stuff. Like I love film. If you look at my Twitter, you'll see I'm in the movies 3-4 times a week. Like I love film. So for me, this is an important discussion to have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I agree.
That's something I frequently bring up, and their fans always come at me with a dumb argument. But it's like, if you're going to get into movie reviewing and talk about movies, you have to have a love of the medium, you know. And always a counter argument is, oh, you have to love everything. No, you don't have to love everything. Love the medium. Have a passion for just movies, the art of making movies. I'm not saying you can't criticize it. There's plenty of bad movies, but like, at least come from it from a place of, I want it to be good. I don't think that's too big a deal.
Yeah, and it's like similar. Like, we talk a lot about fandoms, you know, and if you're part of a fandom, that doesn't mean you have to like all parts of it, you know. That you can't criticize the things that you don't like, right? If there's a new Star Wars movie or TV show that you don't like, you're allowed to talk about it and say, I didn't like this, you know. I just
think, what?
Yeah,
I think, like, just to piggyback on what you were saying earlier about CinemaSins, I feel like CinemaSins and then later these guys have ruined that. Like, there's no nuance anymore. You can't just say, okay, I dislike this thing for XYZ. It has to be, I dislike this thing because of the woke stuff. What I mean? Like, there's no nuance anymore.
Yeah,
we can't just disagree with each other. Like when I was younger, I'm in my mid-30s. When I was younger, man, like the early days of the internet, we were able to talk about Star Wars without this bullshit. Like, so it's jarring to me that any discussion about, like, say, Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, it devolves into, well, it's woke. Well, it has trans people. Well, it has gay people. Like, who cares? Can we talk about? Can we just talk about, like, the story, the cinematography, can we talk about things that make a movie a movie?
Exactly, because the things they talk about, they don't have anything to do with, like, quality, and if they have something to do with your own subjective opinion of it, then that's kind of weird, man. You know, like there are plenty of movies that I really like that have, people of color and women and trans people, and there are movies that I don't like that have women of like people of color and women and trans people.
And
like,
and it is totally possible to have a movie or whatever that like where they do have like some kind of diverse character or whatever, and it's like done kind of in a poor way, or it's kind of shoved
like
in or
very on the
whatever.
nose.
It doesn't happen a whole lot these days. But like we can't even fucking have that conversation because these people call anything that. You know what I mean?
I mean, they call it that in trailer form.
Right. Yeah. I mean, anything can be done kind of, poorly and messily or whatever it is as part of film. But like, if they're just constantly dominating, taking all the oxygen out of the room with this bullshit.
Exactly. It's like they take the wrong lesson from something, right? Like if there is a movie where like there is a certain character where it's maybe a bit on the nose, right? It's like that doesn't mean that diversity in general is a bad thing. That doesn't make the fact that there is a black character a bad thing at all. No.
And
like
also,
if that's where you go, that's really fucking weird.
It also shouldn't make it ruin the whole movie for you. If the rest of the movie is good or whatever, and you're just like focused on like one little element, and you're just like, oh, it's fucking woke and terrible, like you're just saying, there's no nuance, right? Like, it's frustrating, man. Glad to have you, out here doing it, man. Because
that, dude, you guys are just echoing things I've been saying for such a
long
echo
time. Chamber.
It's refreshing. to hear because I don't hear anybody else saying it.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You know what I
We
mean?
know.
We know.
when I stream, like I have these discussions at the beginning of my streams. I'll stream a video game, but like the first 20 or 30 minutes, we'll talk about exactly this, where I will say, okay, you have an issue with the film. There's a woke element to it. Let's say there's a lesbian couple, right? Like they're in your like Negasonic Teenage Warhead in the Deadpool movies, right? Okay, cool, fantastic. You have an issue with them showing a lesbian couple. How about tell me you have that issue, but like talk about the rest of the film. Right. Like, how did that one small thing ruin the entire fucking film for you? I'll never understand that.
It's like how that one little 2-second kiss between those women in Lightyear ruined the whole movie.
I was about ready to say Lightyear has so many issues, in my opinion, and one of them wasn't the 2-second kiss.
No, that's still all I feel like I hear of that movie. It's people talking about that. It's like, okay.
Well, it's back in the
what?
Like, discourse.
What else do you have to say about the
somebody
movie?
Somebody at Pixar said something about like, I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but somebody said something about it as like that's why there
was something.
And
I saw. Yeah, it's like no.
I thought we were done with Lightyear.
Until you guys brought up the Lightyear thing, I totally forgot that there was a LGBTQ element of that. Like, who cares?
I mean, that was one of the ones. Like, that's just kind of like here we'll throw the bone to the queer people in the audience or whatever. They could do more than that, really.
Yeah, that is one of like the tamer, just like, I don't know, like kisses or like shows of affection in Disney movies in general or Pixar movies. Like you see this all the time from heterosexual couples. It's not a weird thing that like two people in love kiss in a kids movie. But these people just make it such a big deal.
I mean, like, okay, so if you have an issue with the lesbian couple or a gay couple, whatever, you don't have an issue with the straight one. Like,
exactly,
they will hide behind, oh, we don't want kids to see any love, but like they never seem to bring up the straight stuff. I've never seen that.
Like the only time that I would accept this argument against Lightyear, I'd still find it like weird, but like okay, is if someone was incredibly consistent. They're like that scene in Lady and the Tramp where like they eat the spaghetti. Fucking hate that diabolical. Why is that in a kids movie, right? Like if they had that consistency through every single kids movie, fine, okay, whatever. Like you do you, but they don't. It's only because it's a gay couple.
I agree. Like if a guy was that consistent about it, I wouldn't even say anything. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like fine.
Do your
thing. Yeah.
And then they wonder why we, they're like, oh, we could call us bigots because we don't like a thing or whatever. It's like, that's not why, man. That's not why at all.
No, it's not.
It's the way
like
that
you complain about those
specific
specific things. That's why you get called a bigot, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's very specific with you. If like in Turf's example, that guy is consistent with straight people. He's consistent with like. Then we can't call him a bigot because his ideology is consistent. Yours is not.
Anti-kissing, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just anti-kissing, period.
It's like there is no actually what I was gonna say is like calling like someone a bigot or a racist or sexist. I feel like a lot of the people who we talk about, they think that these words mean something like a lot more complicated than what it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, no, if you get this upset about a gay kiss and not nearly as upset, or you don't get upset at all at any heterosexual kiss, yeah, that's kind of homophobic. Like it is not more complex than that. It's very
They're
simple.
like, what? I wasn't wearing a robe and burning a cross. When you can call me racist.
Yeah,
because there's nothing less than that, right?
Exactly. It's very black and white thinking, and that's just like goes through like in general. It's like, oh, Acolyte was just pure garbage because of this, because of black people. And it's like
and women,
what?
women,
Did you count number of white men in that?
It's like, what? Like, okay, like we talked about before, like either way, it's not okay to have these as your criticisms, but like, but what else about the show didn't you like? Like, was there anything you liked? Like, it's never even about any of that.
And when it is, they're wrong, because like they were a couple times with the Acolyte where they're like, getting upset about the idea that there was these girls were created from the Force or whatever before Anakin was, or something like that, when it was never said explicitly canonically that Anakin was the only one that ever happened to.
Yeah.
And yeah, just
what about the fire? They were very angry about the fire.
The fire in space.
Yeah. No fires in space in any Star Wars media ever.
I modeled my life after Ki-Adi-Mundi. And the fact that he was 70 was a key element. Making him older, it just doesn't make sense anymore. I don't.
My life is a lie.
That's really what they do, is they attempt to couch their bigotry in like what to like a normal person would seem like a rational criticism.
Yep.
Like fire in space, right? Like for me, I easily see that as a deflection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see that as you want to shit on this thing, so you're going to nitpick it to death, and then make your criticism seem valid because fire in space, right? Like that doesn't exist in reality. Yeah, but so don't like laser swords don't either. The Force doesn't either.
Well, I mean, so we got this drop right here that just kind
He's a
of
former Padawan who could put out sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Fires in the vacuum of space. Fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space.
shout out to Hypoclipped for that one.
I now realize all of Star Wars is woke. I can't watch any of it anymore.
It's not realistic.
It's totally not realistic. I can't believe it.
This is
I
not
you
our
guys
future.
haven't heard this drop yet. I just uploaded this last night. So like this is from that fucking atrocious Doctor Who review where they're just doing transphobia the whole time.
Oh God.
This is not transphobia, but it is like just a 7-second clip that's just the way they're talking about this. It's like, come on, man.
What they're producing now seems to have been created and conceived out of pure spite and hatred.
Who are you talking about, man? Who are you talking about?
Most self-aware thing he's ever said.
Yeah.
I think the Critical Drinkers is probably one of the most insidious members of this group because from what I've seen, obviously his fans have come at me. They refuse to believe that this man is anything other than up and up.
Well, he's written books.
Yeah, right. Like he's a writer, Birdman. He's way better than you. But like I see him for what he actually is, and it's frightening to me that so many people just can't see what I see.
Yeah,
it's like I'm looking at his tweets. He posted a tweet about the Minecraft movie, and I pointed that out. It was like, we know why he's doing that. For those of us who have been covering this dude, like we know what he's doing with that tweet, but like they can't see it. They think that it just looks like a ridiculous movie, right?
Yeah.
Actually, in the most recent video I uploaded, the guy that I was responding to, he said it was because, well, she had ridiculous hair. And I'm like, Really?
Uh-huh.
He's mad because her hair is ridiculous. No, dude, it's because she's a big black woman. That's the point of that tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
well, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you've kind of already brought up what makes Critical Drinker really insidious is the fact that like you can actually watch a few of his videos and be like, oh, this guy's just giving me a straight review. Okay, I'm down for that. And then then you get a couple of the speculation videos where things get quite a bit worse, and you start thinking, it starts guiding you down this rabbit hole. And pretty soon you're watching live streams. Then you're on Nerdrotic, I imagine.
Yeah.
He's an gateway.
I was gonna say he's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
He's a huge gateway drug, and it's crazy because like, I'm making another video on these guys, and I included something about the movie The Creator, that came out last year. I love that movie, and he made a review about it, and I actually agree with a lot of what he's saying. Me, a guy that's making videos on him. So, but then there's this one little thing in the video, and it's like there's a little girl that's the key to everything, and he gets really upset about that. And he posts an image of I think Liar Liar, and he's like, "Oh, come on," because there's the little girl that's the key to everything.
Yeah,
and it's like the video itself is otherwise reasonable, but it's that one thing. It's that one thing that, for those of us who know, we understand what he's saying. It's a dog whistle. The other people don't seem to get it. His fans don't seem to get it. And I think that's what's really insidious about him, is that he can couch this type of rhetoric in otherwise reasonable criticism.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's like we've talked a lot about how his videos often are very fine, normal video essay videos throughout most of it, and then there's just like one part that's just like, what the fuck? I don't have you seen his Across the Spider-Verse
oh my god
video?
Yeah.
Like I agree with a lot of what he says, because he's overall likes the movie, and he has a lot of praise for it, and I'm like, I agree with you here. And then he just has a whole spiel about like the downtrodden white man.
That one kills me so much.
It's it's so funny, but like to think that this guy has millions of subscribers who fall for this shit,
Yeah.
Like, how do you not see through it? And all the times he says the message, what do you mean by that? Like we all know exactly what you like. We know that you know what you mean by that, but like does your audience know that?
I know. I know for me, it was the Batman video, because that review is actually fine. But there's this weird side part where he talks about, isn't it weird how all the rich white men in Gotham are white? And it's like, statistically, that's what it is, dude. What the hell?
I covered both of those examples, the one from Across the Spider-Verse and the Batman one, in my video on him. And so it's like, okay, you're looking at a film about Miles Morales and him, accepting who he is and sort of becoming who he needs to be. He's like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. That's showing you the growth of that character, that he's becoming his own guy and doing his own thing. His read of that movie was, well, Peter B. Parker's the only straight white male in the movie. First of all, no, he's not. I mean, Stacy's father is just right there. He's a major character in that film.
Yep.
It's like, the movie's not about that. I understand that, when you see a black protagonist, you probably automatically assume that the movie is about race relations, but actually that movie's not, like, at all. It has nothing to do with that.
No.
Why did you read that into that film? Well, we know why.
Yeah.
Critical Drinker, but for some reason your audience just doesn't see it.
Like, I wish I could talk to him and just ask him some of these questions.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've seen how he responds to questions on stream with that, like the Japanese movies thing, which is like
so
that we showed. It's I don't understand how you can make that argument and then just fail to provide any evidence. And I've said before, it's like Godzilla -1 hadn't come out at this point, but like I'm sure he's looking back now and being like, damn, I fucking wish that movie had come out at that point.
Well, he still could have named anime, for crying
Yeah, he could have mentioned games. Like the guy who asked, he changed it from movies to just entertainment in general, right? Like when he asked the question, he could have had, like that's what they always come for. Say it fucking Final Fantasy or some shit, right? But like it's just the fact that he's just saying shit and he has nothing to back it up. It's so stupid. And like back to the Spider-Verse thing, you're getting upset, man, that Peter Parker is not the main focus of this one Spider-Man movie.
That's really
Like,
what it was. Is that he was upset that he wasn't the focus of the film.
Like, oh, do you need more Peter Parker? As if we're in a lack of Peter Parker.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't
what
know
do
if
you
there have
want
been
about
enough
it?
Spider-Man movies starring Peter Parker. I
Yeah,
think we need
man.
some more.
I think there's too much fucking Spider-Man content coming out these days without Peter Parker in it.
Yes.
I can't handle it. We've talked a lot about how we also think that he is the most insidious of them because he still has some kind of like a veneer of being a movie critic, you know,
Right.
and has some kind of qualifications to be so, you know, and I hear some people who have no clue who Nerdrotic is or Geeks and Gamers or all these other channels, but they know who the Critical Drinker is, and that's dangerous because he says the same shit as them. He just hides it better. He goes on streams with them. Have you seen his second channel? It's basically just like a Geeks and Gamers channel. It's where he uploads stream clips from his streams with all these other channels where they do the exact same thing. They're looking at, oh, look, this next movie, it's gonna have a black person in it. Oh, it's more woke. Like he's a lot more on the nose on that one. But it's people see his main channel and they're like, oh, this guy's just a really cool reviewer, and he says the things like they are.
And you know, I think that's a very interesting point, is that when you get into like streams like this, you start to get people's real thoughts and opinions on things. You know, CinemaSins did a similar thing where they would review, or Jeremy from CinemaSins would review the movie that he just saw in his car. Now he started to do this like at the beginning of CinemaSins. So right when you saw those videos, he would then upload a CinemaSins video and it had the same critiques in it from the. So what people did to me early on was they would say, well, CinemaSins is satire. They don't really mean everything they say. But then you would point out that here's Jeremy's real criticism in his car. And here's exactly what he said in his car, but in a CinemaSins video made to sound a little bit funnier. Right. So what I think the Critical Drinker does is I think he works backwards. I think he goes, okay, I have these talking points that I want to inject into a video. How can I structure a review around these talking points?
Yeah.
So like those streams, you'll probably hear those, like you said, those same criticisms in the stream in one of his reviews. And, you know, a lot of the time I've noticed that he has his talking points ready beforehand. And like the Barbie video, right? Like I feel like he assumed that it was going to be this woke sort of man-hating thing. And then the opening part of his video is, this is 114 minutes of man hate. It's like, really? No, the fuck it's not. Like at all.
Not even in the slightest. It's apparently like it calls out certain types of masculinity and which aren't necessarily very healthy, you know, but it is absolutely not man-hating.
I mean, shit, man, the movie critiques both. You know, you look at like the movie, it's going at men and women.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Because one thing I didn't think anyone picked up when I was watching the film, because I went to the double feature, which was great. Like I saw Oppenheimer and Barbie the same day. That was great.
Absolutely amazing.
And one thing I didn't think people picked up was that once Ken got back to Barbie Land and he like sort of introduced patriarchy, it really, to me, and I don't know if you guys picked this up, but like to me, it looked like a critique on feminism and how easily women took to feminism. Because I mean, Barbie Land is the pastiche of the real world, right? So like the status quo is that women run everything, the men are subservient or whatever. But like Barbie Land's critique is that that's how the real world is. Like the real world is men run everything and women are subservient. So think about it. When Ken introduces patriarchy, it's technically saying that, you know, this is the real world introducing feminism, and everybody took to it very easily. So I feel like the movie's making fun of both in that respect. And he came away with, well, this is 114 minutes of pure unadulterated man hate. It's like,
I mean,
yeah, okay.
I didn't quite get that read, but like I definitely felt like it was critiquing it mainly in the beginning, where I mean, it's a woman-driven society in the beginning, and it's kind of just showing what it would be like, if it were flipped. And it's not perfect either way. The whole point is like we're supposed to find something in the middle. That was the moral of the movie. The moral wasn't men suck, as these guys tried to say. It was.
Well, I mean, he as we've got a video that we the three of us here, me and Bob Chaos and Turf Nation put together. It's like, just kind of going over a lot of the way that he operates, and then giving examples and breaking it down how he does what he does. And there's things like saying the Last Jedi that Luke he doesn't care about the character arc. He just expects Luke to start off as a super badass guy, and that's it. Same thing with Rocky and Creed. Where
it's a weird critique.
It's in his video about like hating men. So he's talking about how it's like, oh, Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, he's just like, he's given up and he's a cynical old man and he's just a loser. And then he doesn't talk about the end of the movie, right? Where it's like, I don't need anyone to like The Last Jedi, right? Like that, or like his arc in that. That's not what I'm saying.
You're lying about what happens in the movie.
like that's just, I'm not talking about quality here, but objectively, he's in a different spot at the end of that movie. Right, like that's where his arc is going. You can disagree whether you wanted him to be there in the first place, but like he does change at the end of that movie. The same with Rocky in Creed, right? He's like, oh, our old hero, he's just given up and he's given into cancer. Like you haven't watched the end of the movie, then he like that's not how it ends, and it's just. And
well, I mean, we know now that these Drinker in particular, but I'm sure a lot of these other guys, they don't really watch this stuff sometimes. As we just kind of heard recently from somebody who would know that they believe that what they do, like the reason that they are able to review stuff early, they don't actually get advanced copies of anything in most cases or anything like that. They just kind of get like a bootleg off the internet and pass it around amongst each other. Like one filmed in the theater and stuff like that. And I mean, I would believe it.
God. Oh my God.
Just so they can have the talking points to kind of operate from, right?
Well, no wonder you think everything sucks then.
Yeah.
Those bootlegs are not great.
and I think it's very interesting, the whole Birdman, because you mentioned like having expectations to hate something before it even comes out. Because that is something they do absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Critical Drinker will have made sometimes like 3 videos on the trailers, right? He did that with She-Hulk. Watched the trailer, he was like, "There's gonna be shit." He watched another trailer, "There's gonna be shit." He watched that little first beginning of like the first episode that came out. He said, "There's gonna be shit." Like, oh, it's gonna be woke. I'm gonna hate this. This is horrible. Haven't watched the actual show. First episode comes out, he hates it, and then every episode after that, he hates. Like, if you go into something with that much expectation to hate it, and your livelihood depends on it, right? Like your audience is expecting you to hate it. What's the outcome gonna be other than you hating it?
That's what I mean. He works backwards. Like he starts with his conclusion and then tries to find things to support that conclusion, instead of allowing a piece of media to grow organically and react to it as it's happening, as opposed to going in with your preconceived notions. I think we all have preconceived notions about some things, but like those of us who of reasonable and sound mind can understand that, look, these things may be different than what we thought they might be. But like they can't accept that. It has to be shit. It has to be bad because it's not straight white male. It has to be bad.
Yeah,
like the guy I responded to in my recent video, he said that. He said that he said, yeah, this is like, if the KKK come to your town and put on a production, you're not gonna go to it because you have a preconceived notion of what they're going to make. It's like, dude, that's not how you fucking consume media.
So I think it's funny we're talking about this because you guys got me on Critical Drinker's Twitter thread. But I remember when this meme was getting shared around a while ago, where it was Elizabeth Olsen here from some movie or something I haven't seen, but she's just saying,
I saw this.
You think it's cool to hate things? It's not. It's boring. So talk about what you love and keep quiet about what you don't. Of course, critical drinker here. Nah, fuck off with that shit. If something sucks, then there's nothing wrong with saying so. Otherwise, studios will just make more shit. Well, it's not what he does.
I feel it's such a backwards like thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like sure, like there's sometimes right where it works to to give feedback, right? And it's awesome when a studio listens to feedback, right? But they don't listen to just blind hate. And it's such a weird thing to be like, oh, the right way to get what we want out of these like movie making studios is not to support the things we like. It is to hate the things we hate. Yeah, that's that's backwards to me. It's like, oh, if there's a show I really like, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna make sure that they at least get my views, to see, okay, this person liked it, and like I hope a lot of other people will like it and support it and talk positively or at least just discuss it. I don't go to the shows that I didn't like and then just hate on them, right? Just to make sure that I don't get more of that. It's just I don't know if that's how everyone sees it, but to me that just seems backwards.
I don't know what you're talking about, Turf. I'm about ready to make my 18th Rings of Power video.
Well, I got one of these. I got a bit of this hippo clip video on the drinker right here. It's just got several examples that I think could probably be pretty illuminating to what we're talking about.
Watching Top Gun Maverick the other day and thinking about what the actors and film crew must have gone through to actually capture that air combat footage, it really hammered home something that's been pissing me off about modern movies for a long time now. A phenomenon that I could best describe as CGI overloads.
The Dark Star was made available to the production, but it didn't fly, so it's completely CGI. The good old F-14 doesn't fly anymore. It's all CGI. The enemy's 5th generation fighters, they don't exist. They're all CGI. And in the entire dogfight at the end of the movie, you're watching 100% CGI.
And on the face of it, it should have resulted in a better end product. After all, CGI doesn't rely on actors hitting their mark.
CGI totally relies on actors hitting their marks, and that's one of the biggest struggles. You have to get them to get their eye lines correct, and you have to get them to react to this thing that doesn't exist as though it does exist.
It's controllable, it's predictable, it's safe.
If you're not an artist, don't expect the computer to do it for you, because they ain't gonna do nothing.
It's controllable, it's predictable, it's safe, it's controllable, it's predictable, it's safe, it's controllable, predictable, it's controllable, predictable, it's cost effective.
The idea that CGI is more cost effective than practical effects is a myth.
And that's not even talking about what the fucking actors have to work with now. Just actors standing around in big empty green rooms having no fucking clue what they're supposed to be reacting to. Just actors standing around in big empty green rooms having no fucking clue what they're supposed to be reacting to.
Yeah, just says shit, man. He just says whatever. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's become blatantly obvious that he doesn't know what he's talking about a lot of the times.
Yeah. Yep. And also sometimes he like purposely is dishonest about things. Like he knows what he's talking, or like he knows what he's saying is wrong, but he does it anyway. And that's part of a lot of what we looked at in our videos about, his movies hate men video. Like with the editing, he's showing The Witcher, right? And he's showing Jaskier and how he's not a real man, he's twitchy and he's a little beta and stuff. And in the shot you see like Geralt's shoulder, but he never acknowledges that at all. He just edits around it. And it's like, okay, yeah, like the show with the main character who's a big stoic guy, who fits
I think I've got that right here.
Yeah, like all of his criteria for being is right here.
And that's a symptom like that CinemaSins suffers from, where they'll just manipulate footage of a film.
Yeah.
And I think Pillar of Garbage pointed that out with the Glass Onion video, and I included that in my video.
Yeah.
It was like blatantly obvious that he just manipulated that footage.
But they'll try and defend that shit as his audience will, man. Like, it's insane.
Oh, dude, I have a screenshot from a dude trying to defend that specific thing in my comment section.
Well, don't worry, EFAP defended it too. So
yeah, that's how we got put on our radar. Was like he was just getting bombarded by EFAP because they're basically the attack dogs for Drinker and whoever else gets criticized now over there.
Really,
it's silly, but yeah. Here's this.
This is what we refer to as stoicism. A stoic character is one that's generally reserved and emotionally distant, the kind of person who bears their troubles and discomforts without too much complaining. It's a character type most commonly associated with traditional ideas of masculine behaviour. Why? Because that's how men generally act around each other. Now take a look at men in mainstream movies today, and pay attention to the same aspects that you looked at before.
Okay, yeah. Who's
What
that
is it?
shoulder?
He's talking about the Stoic Man, and Henry Cavill, who plays Geralt in the Witcher series, exactly fits his definition of the Stoic Man. Why is he cutting around Geralt? Because Geralt would destroy his argument.
Such weird examples he's using. Also, the one from Rings of Power, right? That one like random person in Numenor who's like barely even a character, rather than like what's like the dad of Isildur called, like Elendil or something, who's literally like
remember,
the
but yeah.
stoic, like the stoic leader of all of Numenor.
Yeah, those go against his argument.
It's just he just purposely, like, knowingly edits around the stuff, and it's so easy to see, and I don't know why more people don't see it. And when you point it out to his fans, why they don't at least go, yeah, that is kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, a stoic man is when you're like fucking pronouns, you know.
For video game drop downs really offend you.
Damn.
Stoicism.
I mean, I know when I first started diving into guys like Critical Drinker, I did it just accidentally, and I did it with the silly idea that, oh yeah, well, if I just point out how obviously wrong they are, the fans will be like, oh shit, they're right.
Oh, how silly of you!
So ignorant, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've all come at this from different paths, but I mean, you know, we all end up in the same spot. We've been doing this show for going on 2 years almost now.
At least together,
yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you guys like found each other, because I feel like in this sort of arena we need to stick together, you know, because like they do.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. The foundation of this whole thing is like, look, man, these guys are always, you know, buddying up and stuff. Like, why are we doing all this isolated? You know, like, I know I wouldn't be talking about the stuff that, you know, I anymore if it wasn't for, you know, hooking up with these guys and doing this show. Like, this makes it fun. It's not like just getting frustrated at grifters all the time and making a video and being fucking frustrated about it. We get to have laughs and stuff. So
yeah, because like especially like me and you, Dane, we've talked about this like the years and years ago, right? It felt like no one on YouTube was talking about this stuff. No one was calling out the Neurotics, the Critical Drinkers, Geeks and Gamers.
I mean, somebody would every once in a while, but I think me and you, as far as I know, were the only ones that had pretty much dedicated to it at that point.
Like doing it consistently, right? And it's like, and seeing where we are now, where like it's a lot more common. There's a lot more YouTube channels that are a lot more dedicated to it. I don't know. It feels a lot more optimistic in a way, you know, or at least I feel more optimistic about it, because it's like, yeah, cool. There's a bit more of a community to do this now. Whereas like, yeah, they used to just be able to say whatever the fuck they wanted and no one seemed to care, or at least a lot of people seemed to care, but like they didn't do anything.
I saw your video on this exact topic, Turf, where you were like going up against the fandom menace.
Yeah.
I love that video. I thought it was great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I think how long ago did you make that? Because I'm pretty sure I saw that a while ago.
Yeah, that I think that's years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that video and just going like, okay, well, they got this. I don't really need to step into the arena. But yeah, it's one of those things where I agree with you that, you know, we have to do this, because like for me, it's just about the medium. You know, I care about story. I care about movies. I care about film. I care about games. And it seems to me like these people don't care. And that's really what the main reason I call them grifters is, because they're using these things that we all love to push rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, if you really cared, you wouldn't lie about scenes. You wouldn't manipulate footage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't. I don't believe them. I don't believe they actually like this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No. And maybe at one point they did, but I can't imagine you can keep that love for something by doing this shit, you know?
But even then, I don't believe them, because like, it's not necessarily like Critical Drinker and it's like the other people that are trying to also do this.
Okay, yeah, those people, they don't care.
Yeah, like they're jumping on a bandwagon. This bandwagon is hate the popular thing that earns a lot of money right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about, because like I do believe like at Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers that there was a point in time where they really liked this stuff, you know, and I think that love has just completely disintegrated. Like they've killed it themselves. And,
Well,
and
like
yeah, then there's a lot of people who just don't care.
Ben
Who are now
Shapiro
seeing
for sure.
For me, like the main thing is that they're breeding what I call parrots, and these parrots just repeat what they say ad nauseum. It's great.
Yeah.
Like they all sound exactly alike, so that's why I've taken to calling them parrots. So my main issue really these days, because like the grifters, they're set in their ways, right? But like the parrots are annoying, and they're just popping up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they're attempting to grift. So like if you see that first video, I posted a tweet of a guy, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's a parrot who's trying to grift. And he responded to me, actually. He was like, yeah, I'm so happy to be called a grifter, and people were like applauding him for this shit. I'm like, dude, this is not something to be proud of.
No. It's like, isn't it Hypnotic who was like just being like, hell yeah, call me a bigot.
Like, yeah,
he calls his
members are called the bigot army. Yeah,
yeah. It's like, why are you proud of that?
No, I think it's because they think if they reclaim the word that it'll no longer mean anything. It's like, no.
Yeah,
no, not how that word
work with
works.
bigot, man. That's just
we're not going to allow them to take bigot. It is no.
I mean, you see this all the time. You see people like, especially right-wing people, you'll see that they'll say, well, words like racist and racism don't mean anything anymore. It's like, no, they do. They definitely do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the typical maybe I am a racist. What does that even mean anymore?
You're right.
It means you're a racist. Like I would never in my life call myself a racist.
You guys call everything you don't like a racist, and it's like, no, just racism, man. Really?
Yeah. It's just you guys. I don't call my mom a racist. Like,
exactly.
It's
But you guys brought up She-Hulk. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, but like,
sure.
One thing I hate about that show, and I actually thought the show was okay. It's bred this idea, or it's bred so many people reacting to like the first episode and like not knowing anything that happens in the rest of the show.
Oh my god!
Yep.
Yes.
You like okay, they always shit on the part where Jennifer is saying, well, I'm a woman, so I know how to control my anger or whatnot.
Yep.
Like they'll cut that scene at a specific point to avoid showing how she failed to control her anger in that moment.
Yep.
In that moment.
And later on in the show.
Yeah, or how that episode is entirely just kind of almost setting her up to kind of be a brat and a jerk, and how she has to kind of learn throughout the series. But we don't want
me and Bob had a debate with Sitch and Adam about this, and like Sitch he went so far as to say that was not part of her character arc. He didn't think that's a character arc where like in the first episode she says, oh, I can control my anger better than anybody or whatever, better than a guy can. And anybody that knows anything is like, oh, that's going to come back to bite her in the ass. And of course it did. In like the almost next to last episode or whatever, she hulked out and acted nuts in front of everybody. And it's like, yeah, man, it was hubris, and that was part of her character arc. She had to learn that she's not as she got to learn how to control her anger, basically. And now Stitch was like, no, that I don't think that's part of her character arc. It's like, what are you talking about, man?
I honestly feel like I'm amongst family because I've been making that exact point, and I feel like I've been going crazy that nobody understands that. Like, but I think the main thing is like these people just didn't watch it.
Yeah,
it just didn't. Like they showed her getting repercussions for her actions. Like that was shown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like why is it that Tony Stark can can express hubris and can express overinflated ego and then have that come to bite him in the ass, and people will give him that patience, give the story the patience to kind of let that play out, right?
Silly rabbit, he has a penis. That's why.
Right. Exactly.
I also think they don't understand how to review episodic television. I think that's the reality of it. They can cheat their fans by watching one episode and then trying to apply that to the entire series because their fans aren't watching it, so they can just make things up And that's what they do. They go in and I mean, we've had people like Melanie Mack who admits that she's not even watching shows and she's making reviews of episodes. Like, this is how they get away with it. They can play those games with them. And I know this because I spent 10 years reviewing episodic television. And one of the things you have to remember is there's questions that get answered in the episodes and there's questions that get answered throughout the course of the season. And that's how you review those types of shows. And they don't review it that way. They take advantage of the ignorance of the people that are supporting them, all the minions that are watching their channel.
Beautiful.
There's
point.
even questions that might take place throughout the whole series. And, it's all stuff you have to take in consideration.
Whereas a movie is an encapsulated story. So a lot more people are just going to watch the whole thing.
But even then, though, like I've made that exact same point that, like the MCU is like chapters in a book, and sometimes they answer questions that are related to the film, and then sometimes they pose questions that may not be answered for a couple of films.
Right.
Yeah.
And
or the big Avenger films that could be a group film they're trying to.
I hate the Avengers Infinity War. They killed all my favorite characters. What the hell, man?
Exactly. It's like wait for the next film.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to happen in the part 2.
Well, I mean, what would that? Speaking of Adam and Stitch, there was that other thing with WandaVision, Bob. Remember where he was like, complaining about Wanda, like in how she does this evil shit, and there's no cool white guys doing cool white guy stuff or whatever in the show, and it's like, well, set that aside because that's weird. But like, no, he was acting like they were just forgiving her for doing what she did in WandaVision. It's like, no, man,
because she's completely redeemed and never does anything bad after that.
And I was like, plus that's literally the setup for her villain story in the fucking Doctor Strange sequel. And he's like, well, that's a different thing. And it's like, no, it's not, man. It's this literal next thing that the character's in.
Right. Because that's what I'm saying. It's like the MCU is like chapters in a book.
Yep.
It's not over yet. So like, relax, calm down. They might answer that question in the next thing.
Yeah. And it's the exact same thing with a TV show. I mean, there are some TV shows where the question is brought up in the first episode, and it's not answered until the very last episode.
Right.
Of like the entire series. Like Eric said, this is how shows work. You don't get all the answers in the first episode, otherwise it would be a kind of a lame show.
That's kind of what this chud content does though with their audiences. It keeps them in the moment right now with like they give them the feeling that they want them to feel, which is animosity and frustration and like resentment of whatever, and then they want to keep them only thinking about the thing that's going on right now. Then they transition them out of that because like right now they're saying that Agatha all along is just like Acolyte, so they like kind of like have one foot still with Acolyte.
Oh yeah, Acolyte's becoming a pseudo slur now. They're going to use that against every show they don't like.
Yeah.
Remember the Acolyte, or it's just like the Acolyte, or that's the Acolyte effect. I can see that already. They're gonna.
But they don't.
That's why, like Jeremy's video about Agatha had interview clips from people associated with the Acolyte in it to sort of prove that Agatha is bad. I'm like, they're not even connected properties.
Yeah. They're not part of the same fucking universe.
They're both owned by Disney, therefore the same.
Yeah. It's nuts. Man, we should have got a episode. We should have got some Guess the Grifter prepared for today, and those are our bad.
That would have been a good idea.
Guests, yes. Well, the Birdman will just have to come back on.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, now you have to.
We got a little game we play where we just look at the titles of a YouTube video, just the title, and see if we can guess whose video it is.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, the thumbnails are too easy because those like all of them have their own little grifty.
Yeah,
thumbnails.
You can identify a Neurotic one in a heartbeat.
Oh,
his Critical Drinker is the one with no effort.
It's just a screenshot from the thing.
His videos are no effort if you like really look at it. Like
I mean,
extremely low quality footage.
It's really fucking insulting that he's so successful considering all that, right? Like,
it took a long time for his videos to get to 1080p. They were for a long time, even when he was very big, they were just a 720p, and I was like, "Damn, this looks awful."
I've brought before how a lot of his videos will be like fine, just movie reviews, but the problem is lots of times with those, if I were to critique that element of them, they're really surface level, really easy, just there's not much meat to them at all.
I mean, and then there's the
really
try hard
nothing
videos,
unique.
Bob, the ones that we watched where he's doing the what is it, the
God.
Furiosa review, where it starts out like
Oh,
90% of the video is like positive, and then at the very end he's like, however, I need you to be mad about this, so let me come up with some just random thing to be upset about to prove the movie's awful. And when I was watching that clip, it was like an 8-minute, 9-minute video. Like through the majority of that, I'm like, he likes this film, but he can't like it because that's not the kind of content he makes. So he had to come up with a reason to dislike it at the very end.
Well, I'll tell you what I got. I got some posts from Saltier Than Crate, the good one. We can check out. I think these would be good for kind of, we learn what they're talking about for one thing, and also discussion prompts. But like, man, can't believe this. I mean, I can believe it. I've seen it all at this point, but like,
yeah.
Let me share my screen real quick. So this just goes to show that Mauler fans, they know what they're doing. Like, they just don't learn, do they? So like, learn what? Oh, right, because she said something kind of similar to, what was said about the Acolyte, right? It's the gay.
I also want to point out, for a community of people that want us to accept that all humor is valid, I guess it's not, because clearly these were jokes. If you watch the videos where they're on the purple carpet, it wasn't even the red carpet, it was like the purple carpet. They're asking playful questions, and when they're giving funny answers, these guys want you to take them 100% seriously, even though they claim to be the community of memers, the community of comedy, like free speech, this, that, and the other. But the minute somebody makes a joke that's about a marginalized community, all of a sudden it's not a joke anymore. Now we have to be 100% serious. A gay explosion at the end. So we can't laugh at that and be like, well, I can't wait to see what the hell that means. Like, no, it has to be immediately anger. You know what I mean? And constant negativity towards marginalized groups. It's
I think it says something about these people that they don't really consume anything outside of perhaps the media, because like Aubrey Plaza is a known troll.
Yeah.
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 Like she's got
deadpan humor. That's her whole shtick, is being like this. She says really deadpan humorous things, and that's what she does. I mean, she's almost even typecast as that at times. So
I fully believe these people only think that comedy is comedy if there's slurs involved.
Also, aren't they the ones saying that they don't want to watch this because it's not what they asked for, that other people want, this is made for other people? But then they get confused when these publicity events focus on the communities that these shows are made for.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the confusion? These guys have already said, I'm not going to watch it. It seems like it's going to be too gay for me, blah, blah, blah. And then when they promote it that way at these events, they're like, I can't believe they're promoting it that way. They should be promoting it to straight, white, cisgender men only, because that's the show, right? The show is made for us. No, it's not. It was never made for you. So why would they be promoting it to you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what is the reality they're living in?
That's the thing. These people, they believe that every single TV show or film should be made for them.
Exactly.
There can't be anything that's not made for them.
Oh God, a niche show for a gay audience can't have that, even though specifically that was the community that was asking for this thing.
Look, we got 123 people watching right now across 4 channels. Please, if you're not, subscribe to whatever channel you're on, and then maybe hop over to the other ones, and they're in the description. Subscribe to those, but hit the like button, please, and subscribe to Birdman.
Subscribe to Birdman over here.
Yeah.
The
next thing I'm going to show here is like, look, if you're watching and you just hate watching us or whatever, and you think we're woke clowns or whatever, okay, fine. But the next thing I'm going to show here, if you're this bad off, man, you need to fucking reconsider shit. Like, I'm not going to say don't be anti-woke right now. I'm just saying don't let it go so fucking far that you can't enjoy things that you once loved. Like this shit.
Let's see. Rewatching A New Hope nowadays makes me sad. They tell a full standalone story. Oh my god.
Ahsoka makes it so that he can't enjoy A New Hope anymore.
Because they have brain rotted these people, so now they're going back and retroactively watching stuff and seeing these horrible criticisms in previous media that they consumed, like things that they loved as kids. We talked about it, Dane. You've talked about like these grandfathered shows and movies, right? It's starting to get so bad now. They're going back and they are actually woking up like these things that they loved, like, because they cannot consume anything without thinking like the fucking critical drinker and Nerdrotic. Their brain has been melted.
I think this particular post is a person what's the word? Romanticizing A New Hope. Actually, I think that's what this particular post is. But I have seen what you're talking about. People, they'll look at a previous piece of media and go, oh, well, here's the stuff that they're complaining about. Now let me also complain about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was just kind of doing the juxtaposition of what this was, because this is like the way we should be viewing modern media as well, but they're not doing that. And so the retroactive going back and like we've talked about, like obviously Alien and
that was kind of the theme of your first video, Birdman, with the Ripley thing.
Yeah.
They grandfather in some of these things. Basically, if they consume the media before they became like politically radicalized or whatever, then they can kind of like justify it.
How can they be sexist? They like Sarah Connor and Ripley. It's like,
exactly. That excuse, that came out nowadays,
like burns my soul.
Yeah. Like someone's like, I feel like if you go back and if A New Hope came out today, right? You'd see videos about someone complaining that Leia took the gun from Luke and shot the bad guys, and he just stood there and stared like an idiot. Like there'd be videos about that, and and a lot of them. But it's
Well, I've had them admitted to me though that we would do that. I've literally had people admit that to me.
Jeez,
that's crazy.
I have not had that one.
And that doesn't cause them to just stop and think, wait a second, am I kind of being fucking owned by some grifters right now? What's going on?
Wait, am I the asshole?
How is it to be like met with someone like that? Because you can't help a person who knows that and then still watches them.
The Criminal Shakers subreddit is so ridiculous.
Why is Predator being turned into a female franchise? Like if you're even thinking this way, you're way off base, man.
Well, my question is, why is having a woman in something mean you're turning it into a female franchise? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, maybe he's got a good reason here. Let's read what he says about Prey. If he didn't like Prey, maybe, but no. Oh, actually, he didn't watch it, so he just.
Right.
I mean, I think it's interesting. So the big kind of the twist to Predator was that Predator was kind of action horror movies where essentially you'd get men as the final girl. Now, there's a reason why it's called the final girl, though. So having actually a girl be the final girl doesn't seem like a fucking stretch to me. Also, Prey was great. Oh.
Well, I think we've reached.
But I mean, none of us watched it because it's not for us, right?
Oh, right, it's not for us. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's an interesting way to look at this. Is when did we start to have this hard line of like gender when it comes to what kind of media we're watching? Because I know there's always been an idea that like, oh, blue's for boys. Pink is for girls, like these random things that started out as sort of ways to control behavior. But when did it become a time where if a movie has a woman as the lead character, I'm not talking about a rom-com or something geared specifically towards women. I'm talking about just having a woman as a lead character in a movie. When did they start considering that to be a woman-only franchise? That's such a weird like path to follow from that, because if you think of it that way, there's a lot of movies. Like, would you argue, and we'll go back to Terminator or even Alien, would those franchises be considered women franchises because the lead characters in those movies are women?
Yep, never watched them.
I think when it was Ghostbusters 2016. That's when.
Yeah, that's a big
one. It always goes back to that movie.
That's the thing. Like, they act like that movie changed the landscape of everything. It's like, that movie, as far as impacting movies, really didn't have an impact. It came and went. But
the only impact that movie has is that you fuckers still talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
That's the biggest legacy
that movie has. Prey was actually a fucking good movie, by the way. Prey was a really fucking good movie. So,
Prey is my second favorite Predator movie, right behind the first one.
Well, how about whenever they just can't read,
Right.
So, in that scene where Jeremy Griggs is his thumbnail said this too, and I feel like I don't know if he actually read it correctly or what, or if he's just counting on his audience to read it incorrectly. But the quote that he's got in his thumbnail anyway is, "It's not just for straight white men or whatever." And I feel like what a lot of these people are seeing is it's just not for straight white men.
Yeah,
right.
It's like those
are two. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like they're looking at it as this property is not for straight white men. No, it's saying it's for everybody. Actually, that's what it's saying.
Yeah, and I mean that's the whole thing. That was been my argument from the beginning, because my entire like step into this world of like the grifty space, which I'm now calling like bully tube, basically. So
Nice.
like in this space where all of these bullies are out here trying to like push people out of the fandom.
Yeah.
I was doing She-Hulk videos because I reviewed TV shows. That was what my channel was. And I got a lot of people coming in from those channels harassing people in my comment section, specifically because of the stuff that like Nerdrotic, Heel versus Babyface, all these other people, what they were saying. And so I started to go, you know what? I've ignored this for a long time. I've seen other people tackling it. I didn't think that I was made for it, you know? And I finally had enough. Dane showed up and we started talking. Dane's content was the first content that I kind of saw of like pushing back against this stuff, like in a big way. And so we started talking. I was like, I need to jump in and say something, you know, because She-Hulk as a show is for anybody that wants to watch it. But just like every show, there is a target audience that they're trying to make the show for. And that's what people have to understand is not everything has to be made for everybody, but anything can be for anybody. And that's the issue, is that if you want to engage in media that is not about you, that's quite all right. There's a gay documentary. It's about the queer black community, Latino community in Harlem back in the 90s called Paris is Burning. It's an iconic, legendary queer film that documents not only that world, but the trials and tribulations of living in that environment in the 90s and HIV and AIDS and all of this. It's a documentary made specifically about that community, kind of targeting people for that community to come in and see things about themselves. However, anyone can watch that and anybody can engage in it, and you can learn things from that by tuning in and seeing something like that. Something like that, if that were to come out today, and I hate to use it as equivalent because it's not even close, but like the Bros. You guys remember Bros? It was like a like a rom-com gay men.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that movie came out
because it was woke, right?
Right, exactly. So that movie came out. It was, again, made by queer people, primarily for a queer audience, and it was never intended to be for the mass. It wasn't going to be like $1 billion film. It was never going to be that. There's other issues with why that movie didn't do well. But the point is that movies can come out and be for specific target audiences. And what these guys don't understand, like with movies and TV shows, is just because it is not a reflection of you and you need to feel represented in the media that you're watching, something they say isn't important, doesn't mean that something shouldn't exist or shouldn't be made. And that has ultimately been my biggest criticism about this whole community with these bullies and these gatekeepers, is that when I grew up reading comic books and engaging in cartoons and things like that, we were ostracized. We were considered like a minority. When I went to school, it was like, you're the geeky kid. You read comic books. You're introverted. Nobody wants to talk to you.
Yep.
And then we grow up and we find these like communities, these conventions, these places where we're all accepted. And now we've gone full circle where we have these fucking high school bullies in our community that wants to kick everybody out of the locker room. You know what I mean? Like they want to be these assholes. And it's hard to believe we've come to a place where that is just acceptable. It's such a weird thing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, my thing is, man, I like you, DJ, or I'm sorry, Eric. I grew up, kind of a weirdo. I didn't know it then, but I was on the autism spectrum, so I wasn't like socially, super great at stuff. But like, comic books, movies, and stuff, I was into it completely. And I would try and get like a friend at school to read a comic book that I thought was really cool. And a lot of times people are just like, I don't want to read that shit. It's for nerds or whatever. And it's like, man, I just wish people could see how cool this stuff is. Right? They don't even want to give a chance. And now here we are, fast forward to when it's like everybody sees how cool it is generally. You got the MCU and shit. It's like the biggest thing in the world, and that's fucking great. And I'm ecstatic that there's so many people that now see the stuff in these characters and whatnot that I've always seen it and whatnot. There's no way I can imagine fucking gatekeeping that shit. Like, it's just,
nothing makes me more excited than sitting down and talking about the stuff I love with people that have never heard it or seen it before. Yes. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone to movies about the MCU where I can literally geek out about something and tell them, you have no idea what's coming. This is going to be amazing. And watching them get excited for something because they're talking to someone that grew up loving these things or is in touch with these things. When you go to these other channels, what you get called is normies, idiots, casuals. Like they treat new fans like garbage, and then they've completely brainwashed and minionized their communities to do the same thing. It's crazy. It's insane to me. It's insane. I don't like. It's obviously for profit. They're obviously doing it for money, and that's the more egregious thing is whether they believe it or not. The material harm is the same, and the damage is the same.
But it also serves social purposes as well, as far as like insidious social agendas kind of thing. Like they like to claim that wokeness is some insidious thing or whatever. And it's like, no, man, the thing where you're like trying to call everything woke and you know, as if that means something, and you're actually trying to prevent people from attaining equity in these industries and stuff like that. That's the insidious thing.
Yeah.
And you know, then it becomes fucking hate speech, man. Like it becomes hate speech towards, you know, we've seen it with trans people. Obviously gotten it the worst, but like, you know, I've seen stuff about racist stuff just in the last year that I never thought I'd see on the internet and shit.
It's gotten bad. And you know, I'm so glad because Birdman, I'd seen your videos pop up in like my recommended, and then I had noticed that we were going to be speaking with you, so I wanted to do like a deeper dive, you know, into your channel. And I have to say, like, it's really interesting because, like, you were speaking earlier about what got you to where you are now, you know, why you're speaking out and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people are now starting to have that parallel experience where, like, enough is enough. You know what I mean? And they can't take it anymore. And do you feel that sort of, is there a sense of urgency with you, or is it more like you just felt this was the right time for you to finally engage with this? Like, what was the big tipping point?
Well, I'm like extremely scatterbrained. So for me, I don't know if I know if this was the right time or not.
Yeah.
But I've always felt like I should say something. Like I felt like I owed that to my audience because, like you said, I have a very similar experience to you where, you know, those people from those channels would come over to my channel and say the same stupid shit in my comment section. And I'm very well known for mixing it up in my comment section. So I reply to these people. Yeah. I'll show them how they're wrong. I'll provide examples. I'll provide sources. I'll provide video clips. Like that's just kind of what I do. I'm sort of a debunker type of guy. So for me, I'm coming at this from the perspective of, well, these people are fucking wrong. Like the shit that they're saying is just not true. Okay. So, I don't really know if it was the right time for me, but I definitely have felt the pressure to make a response. And, you know, I've been taking shots at these guys in my Everything Wrong with CinemaSins videos for a while.
Right.
And then, you know, my most fervent subscribers are like, Birdman, when are you going to make this? We're going to make a video on them. When are you going to do this? So I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and toss my notes into a script and let me record it and let me see how it goes. So, I don't know what like was like, do it now. But I just
felt it. It was like it felt like it was the moment for you, right?
Yeah,
yeah, I get
exactly.
It.
I feel like that pressure was just mounting to because like if you look at my comment section, people are like, Birdman, when are you going to talk about these fucking guys? Like just do it. It's like, all right, you know what? Here we go. I'll do it. Because like I said, I've been taking shots at them for years. This is not a new thing. And you know, their fans come over to my comment sections like, oh, you're just clout chasing, or you're just like, it's like,
of course.
First of all, I've been making videos on a much bigger YouTuber. Like CinemaSins has 9 million subscribers. The guy whose dick you're sucking has 2 million. Like, like we're not even in the same stratosphere.
So it doesn't even make us like their comments don't even make sense. It's like they're repeating the same insults that they've heard other people say. That's pretty much
exactly.
I mean, I can't tell you a number of times I read a comment. I'm like, wow, that's insane and stupid. And then I'll react to one of their videos and I'll just see them say the exact same thing. It's like, oh, that's where they got the argument. Okay.
Yeah. They heard one of them say it. That's what I'm saying. Like the material damage is the same. They're just going to repeat what these guys are saying.
The number of times.
Why I call them parrots.
Yeah, the number of times these commenters will be like, he can't be bigoted. How do you explain that Arcane review? Then if you actually watch that Arcane review, it's one of his better reviews. But then there's a moment where he literally says, all the people who call me a racist or a bigot, well, guess what? Look at this review. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, they act like that. They think by showing an example, one instance where they did something that wasn't awful, somehow absolves them from all of the other shit they've ever done. Yeah. And that's not how it works. It doesn't work like that in the real world. It doesn't work like that on the internet. I mean, like you're going to do 5,000 videos calling, minority groups all kinds of hateful things, but she did one video where you liked a movie where there was one gay character. So now that it's okay. It's like the defense of I have X friend. My best friend is this. And it's like, no, like that doesn't work.
Yeah. And, you know, I think this is exactly why Aldo Rain decided to carve the swastika in the Nazis' forehead so they can't hide.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I just had a comment a second ago popped up on my phone here where somebody was saying, "Oh, you're mad at them, but they're criticizing bad writing and blah blah blah." And I'm like, you don't even know what that means. You don't even know what bad writing. Are you talking about the script, the screenplay, the dialogue? Which part of the writing are you talking about? Like, it's such a nebulous, dumb thing. It's bad writing. What the fuck?
Swear, you and I are like the same human. We have to be. I say the same exact thing. Like, these people don't have no idea what good writing is, let alone bad writing.
No,
like
they
I always challenge them on this. I'm like, okay, so explain the good writing, explain the bad writing. Go ahead and do it, and they disappear.
Yeah, you they say bad writing, and you're like, okay, what elements of it did you not like? And then they never have an answer. It's like you can't just say bad writing. You have to expand on that. That's not a critique by itself. That's
all these thought terminating terms and phrases like they sacrificing story for wokeness or for agenda or whatever. It's like, what the fuck does that mean, man? How are you weighing this stuff?
It's like you like, are there no stories to be told about gay or black or whatever kind of, like, are there no stories to be told about those people?
All stories have to represent like old white men. That's literally the only stories. Old white straight men. That's it. They would rather cast the most old decrepit white man in a role before giving anybody else a spot. They're like, just anybody and everybody. Like this whole thing about RDJ coming back as Doctor Doom, right? So they're losing their minds over it, but at the same time they don't know how to tackle it because they've been asking for him to come back for ages.
This is what they
now.
want.
So this is what they wanted. So their struggle is, do we support the MCU and Disney because this is obviously a money grab, or do we go back and act as if we never wanted RDJ back in the first place? It's like that button meme where you don't know which one you're pushing. Like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they do not have consistency, and they oftentimes have gone back on stuff before. I don't know, Birdman, if you've like seen a lot of their reaction to, for example, when the House of the Dragon came out.
Yeah.
I put that in my, I think I put that in my video where like he changed the the thumbnail or the title.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like they'll just do that, and be absolutely
he's talking. You had the critical drinkers. They actually have a graphic I can show you where it's much more like several of these dudes did the exact same thing at the exact same time as far as like changing their takes.
But like beforehand being like, oh, this is gonna be woke. The Valerians are gonna be black. They hate white people. And then it comes out and everyone likes it, and then they're like, well,
I also don't understand how being something other than this thing means you hate the other one. I never understand that. Like, because you're showing a gay character, you must hate straight characters. Like, what does that even mean? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean,
like when you look at it from the other side, it's you're showing straight characters, that must mean you hate gay characters.
Right? Exactly.
But they'll never accept that logic. They'll never accept that.
No, it's like it completely goes over their head. If you would ask them that question, it'd be like, what does that mean? Or just like when I questioned, I can't remember who it was, but I questioned somebody in the comments a while ago where they were saying something about how, what was it? I'm trying to think what video it was. Anyway, they were saying something about like having gay relationships or relationships with any characters, like mixed race relationships and things like that. That's some sort of that's pushing things on people. And I'm like, what does that mean when you see two straight white people together, that's pushing that on people? How can you push something on people, especially when it comes to things like sexuality and race? Like, what is that supposed to tell me? That I'm not supposed to have love because I'm a gay person? Like, I'm not allowed to have a relationship if I can't see it in media? I can only have a straight relationship? Is that the indoctrination? They don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that their argument is that they just want to make anyone else who is marginalized like more invisible than straight white men. That's and straight relationships in general.
They want to keep minorities.
Yeah,
they
do that because they're scared. They are scared of being treated like minorities. That's why they do that. That's the whole thing. Yeah. There's this white fragility and this white guilt that's so deep inside of them they can't even look in the mirror and accept it. There's this idea of their heterosexuality that gets challenged by seeing queer people in spaces, and they are worried that if there ever comes a time when they share an equal footing with anybody other than white people, than straight white cisgender people, that they may be treated differently, the same way that they treat all of us. And that is the issue that they have. And they're so afraid of it, it's so deep inside of them, they can't even accept the fact that not everyone is going to react to that situation the same way as them. If they know how minorities are treated, that is why they don't want to be minorities. Point blank, period.
I think that like ties into the whole political aspect, like that they're bringing their right-wing politics into this sort of media discourse.
Bingo.
And you know, like one of their talking points of the more radical, the more out there people, like let's say like Nick Fuentes, they call it like white genocide.
Yep.
You know, so like just to tie into what you're saying, it's like they think that they're being replaced, or they think that they're being marginalized, or will be treated like people that are currently marginalized.
Literally the great replacement theory, man. That's a white supremacist thing where they think, you know, they're acting like we're the Democrats and the leftists are like bringing in, you know, immigrants and black people to kind of like vote for them or whatever and replacing white people. And then you just kind of like look around. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the really radical people like Fuentes. Just on YouTube, there's YouTubers saying that they're replacing white people in movies and stuff like that. And it's like, it's no different. I don't know if they all know that that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? But
I don't
like,
think so. I think a lot of it's psychological.
You trace it back far enough, and it did come from like VDare and shit like that, which is like a white nationalist group. It's all in there, man. It's been planted for some time.
I think as a minority, I'm, you know, as a black person, I'm sort of uniquely placed when I hear shit like this, because it's like, dude, I've grown up my entire life playing games, watching movies, consuming media about people that don't look like me, don't sound like they like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't do that for the past couple years. What, Ghostbusters 2016, right? So like the past 8 years, you can't do it.
One movie comes out like that and they lose their mind. It's like they can't rationalize it. It's so fucking weird.
Oh, there we go.
So here we got how the fandom menace manufactures conflict and drama for clickbait. And yeah, you see here you got these are, you know, several thumbnails and titles from these guys' videos before
woke trash incoming. Woke trash from the quartering. Okay.
Okay, so they're all just in general, you know, hey, this is anti-white, anti-man, you know, House of the Dragon bullshit. Then Rings of Power comes out. See these motherfuckers shift, like full reverse, honestly.
No, they just got wrecked. Now House of the Dragon is good because they need to create conflict. But also I want to say that this is because they were in a unique situation where they had two quote unquote woke properties and they needed to get in the algorithm without like cluttering it up. So they just put them against each other, because they realized that was the easiest way.
Well, you double up on the algorithm dip, and then, you know, as well as just the conflict. Having two things in conflict, they love that shit, man. Like, they did this shit with goddamn Sonic the Hedgehog and Birds of Prey, man. I will never forget that they were like, Sonic the Hedgehog just destroyed Birds of Prey in the theater. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh my god. Also, I want to say a lot of times with the way they do things is you'll see like with video games too, they'll find a video game that they think is not woke versus a video game that's woke. They won't even be similar types of platforms. One will be like a shooter, the other will be an RPG, and they will literally be like, oh, it got destroyed by this other game. It's like not even the same audience is buying the game. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
They'll be like, oh, look at Concord. It got destroyed by Stellar Blade.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Completely different games.
Well, and Agatha is really interesting because Agatha is a one series show. It's not intended for anything. It's a limited series. It's everything is going to be contained in the one story that they have. Libs of TikTok posted that it was going to be a flop movie because they don't even know what it is. They posted on Twitter, this is going to be another MCU film flop or some shit like that. And I'm like, not only do you not even know what it is, but you're so caught up on the script that you're feeding everybody that you can't even take 5 seconds to go to Google and see that it is a limited series, which means it doesn't matter if it's good or bad because it's not getting a second season anyway. It's not a movie going to the movie theater. It's a done project. They're putting it out and it's just going to be what it's going to be. It like you have no power over it. That is the greatest thing about Agatha is there's nothing. It doesn't matter whether it's a massive success or not. Because it's not even set up to get a second season. So they can't clickbait canceled because there's no plans for it to go on.
No.
It's crazy.
I do believe like if it's for some reason just became massively popular, like Disney would or like Marvel would.
I would love if they did that though. Yeah. If they did greenlight a second season,
yeah,
you know what? Could be mad.
Make another one.
That would be that'd be awesome. I don't know. I still haven't seen Agatha, so I don't know. I think it came out yesterday.
Well, no, it comes out tonight at 9:00 Eastern.
Oh, it comes out tonight. Oh, okay, never mind then.
By the way, Jesse Grant posted a video saying that that it was a flop already, and then I called it out. I was like, how could it be a flop when you haven't even seen it? And then the title changed on his video. Like, he literally the title changed. I was like, okay.
Jesse Grant is shameless, dude. He is fucking shameless.
Well, he used a fake tweet in it too, with Critical Drinker.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jesse Grant goes through a lot of knee pads with Critical Drinker, so
yeah.
I mean, it's also like when nothing happens after having just lied like that. You know, you can see how they can just keep going. You know, there's no consequences to what he just did there. He could just change his video and then just act like nothing happened. You know, and his audience won't have any standards.
Becoming the go-to hand-waving criticism that people online throw at movies and shows is nothing back.
So these are posted. Annoying. This is our friend shared these with me to convince me to get onto Threads finally. And I was like, all right, I might do it now if this is the kind of shit that's on there.
People claim they want George Lucas' vision for Star Wars, except when it comes to the special editions prequels and his empathy for the expanded universe. They seem to forget the whole reason why he fucking sold Lucasfilm to begin with. I mean, they always just forget that. There's this nostalgia for the prequel series, which, by the way, if you go back, there was a remake. Do you remember that song, Gautier, Somebody That I Used to Know? You remember that song when it came out? Well, there was that parody song called The Star Wars That I Used to Know. And it's basically them making fun of the prequels because everybody hated them. And this is around like 2011. And now all of a sudden, since the sequels came out, now people are retroactively pretending like everyone loved the prequels. And that was never the fucking case.
No. Yeah, they use that thing. They use that to criticize the sequel trilogy. I've noticed that myself.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm thinking like, well, once a new trilogy of Star Wars movie comes out, like, what will anything change? Will they start thinking like, oh, The Last Jedi was amazing. This was real Star Wars.
I said in my video, like this whole idea that
I think it will.
Sorry, Bob. Yeah,
I was gonna say I think it will because that's how the cycle works.
It is, but I said in my video that like this whole idea, this bombshell hit piece about Inside Out 2 and Buzz Lightyear that they were talking about this last week, have them thinking that Disney is all of a sudden getting rid of DEI and check boxes and all of this and stuff. So in Jeremy's video, he complained about that, but then he also complained that they were promoting Agatha as a queer product. And I'm like, so wait. So you're saying that this Lightyear or what is it, Inside Out proves that Disney moving away from queer representation is good for them, which came out months ago. But now you're mad that Disney is promoting Agatha or advertising Agatha as a queer series. So they can't even keep their story straight, and the people that watch them don't even pay attention to this kind of stuff.
They suffer from an extreme form of cognitive dissonance. Like they'll hold one position. Brain. Yeah, it's insane, dude. I've seen this like across every single one of these guys. They'll hold one position, and then like when you point out to them that they're a hypocrite on the other thing, it's like they just don't get it. Or their fans just don't care. That's the thing that bothers me the most. It's like, I think what Turf was saying is like, they could just continue doing the shit and just get away with it.
Yeah.
And I've never understood that. Like, you know, when I make videos on CinemaSins, I show where they like they manipulate footage or like they're being a hypocrite about one thing or another. And I will have their fans change their minds. But with these guys, no, you're just a hater. You're a clout chaser.
Because it's all emotions, man. It's all emotional based points that like they just like are so rooted in these deep, you know, fucking feelings that they're convinced are facts, man. I actually have a video that came out today or last night. I'd like to see if we could kind of watch a little bit of it while we got all these heavy hitters on the panel here. You guys cool with watching this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Turf, you got to go.
I have to go soon, but
all right. Well, let's watch a couple minutes because like I want you to see how fucking insidious this shit is. Let's see. But yeah, so this is a Nerdrotic video, and he doesn't do these very often from what I can tell. I don't watch him on a regular basis, but something told me this was going to be kind of a different one. and it is different from a lot of the stuff I've seen him do. And I think it's kind of just like something he has to kind of do to like update the fucking narrative now and then or something.
Amazon has my sympathy. You have people like me making a video about you. You have the SJWs circling. You announced this show 3 years ago and you haven't even finished a test pilot. Now you're so desperate you might bring in Bad Robot to help finish it. Don't. But if you do, instead of that word egalitarian, you can expect intersectional feminism. And instead of fidelity to Tolkien, you'll get current year politics mixed in with a few lies to the fandom, and it will be a divided fan base. And if you go Game of Thrones, everybody will be pissed off. But why should you care? You're $1 trillion company.
I just want to pause it for 1 second. Is he just have like a list of like big words that he uses at the beginning of his videos to make people think that they're listening to some intellectual person? I mean, it's like intersectional fibonacci, blah, 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 like all these phrases and terms that he uses over and over and over again. Like you were saying, Birdman, in your video about repeating something to the point where it just becomes like common and you hear it and it gets embedded in your mind.
Sermonic repetition.
Yeah. And I feel like they've got these buzzwords that they just use in the beginning of every video that signed up that like comforts the viewers that they have on their channels into like getting ready to receive whatever it is they're going to say to them.
Well, yeah, it's called the illusory truth effect. It's a real thing in psychology. It's you repeat a thing often enough, people will start to believe it. They'll even start to have false memories. It's even associated with believing people who have like easy to pronounce names, like things. It's really crazy, and it's very interesting actually. There's been so many studies done on this. So yeah, like they'll repeat these phrases and words and buzz terms. And people just start to believe it, and that's where the bad writing thing comes from.
Yeah.
Like you hear so many people say bad writing because it's been repeated so often, but they can't explain it when you actually challenge them on that.
Yeah. Can we get away from this frame now?
Yes. It's a worse frame.
By the way, this video, I want to go over even just the details of like how this video is titled and everything, because I think it's very specifically done for this reason. So like, it's called "Let's Talk About."
Yep.
So he's got that Taco About thing in there, which was a big hit for him last year. So he's pulling that out, which I'm sure he only does whenever he really wants to make sure that a lot of people fucking watch the video. I think, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, there's the Taco About it joke, right?
Yeah. Is that the reason why he's playing the bugles or the trumpet?
So did you see it when Blue Beetle came out and he
he was very racist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about Blue Beetle. It's like
Flexing is gay. Flexing is really gay. But I will point out, and most of you who watched my videos early on, I predicted the mess that the Rings of Power would be. Not because I'm some genius, not because I'm Nerdstradamus, just because I know the source material and I saw the patterns in other stuff and Doctor Who and everything. Oh, they're going to do the same thing here. They're going to make Galadriel a warrior and put her in armor, and boom, it's that predictable. And I'm not the only one, by the way, who predicted this stuff. It was pretty easy to predict if you were covering pop culture at that time. So it's weaved its way into the scripts. It's weaved its way into all of our social media. It's weaved its way into our school, into every facet.
What is it?
Yeah, that's a dog whistle, apparently. The message or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's talked about like it's some kind of, I think, just fucking poison.
Pennywise.
Well, it takes me back to the Alan Richson video that you showed at the beginning, where instead of saying black or gay or woman or trans or whatever, it's all wrapped up into one word because it makes it easier to swallow. It's a pill that you can swallow that doesn't make you feel like a piece of shit while you're also being a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
You can accept the fact that you're a racist if you don't call it racism.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not a bigot. I just hate wokeness.
Right. It's just bad writing, bro. But I do want to say that also, did you see where he snuck in schools in there? We're talking about entertainment media. And he goes from that into like children, because it's that whole fallacy of like, what about the kids? What about the children? It's this thing that's just kind of been sort of wound in to their grift now, is that they seem to be caring about kids while also making content and media that is not age gated on YouTube that can be easily searchable that promotes all of the stuff that they say isn't appropriate for children.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's part of that political side that they're trying to sneak in, or not really sneak in. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but it's that whole right-wing talking point that they're trying to indoctrinate your children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All while they're doing it as well, but they're like, look over there. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Every institution, every fucking major corporation, Am I Racist exposes this. It exposes something we've been talking about for years, but it gets it to more people, and I'm absolutely happy it does that. So yes, every Star Trek Discovery episode.
I just want to say real quick, fuck Matt Walsh.
Well,
throw that out there.
I also want to point out he seems to be okay when their indoctrination gets out to more people, because that's exactly what that was. It's a propaganda movie full of indoctrinative stuff. And he seems to be quite fine when Matt Walsh is doing that, and everybody should watch that, but don't watch the other stuff that would allow you to have a brain and opinion of your own. You have to only watch the stuff that I'm telling you to watch. It's really crazy shit.
And every red carpet interview where they're out there really pushing the narrative that racism is worse than like race relations are worse than they are in the 60s, and racism still exists, when basically there's more of a market for anti-racism than there is of actual racism. But the thing is,
newsflash, you wouldn't need anti-racist marketing if racism didn't exist.
Bro, look at our fucking channel compared to his. We've been doing fucking, anti-racism content for years in some cases, and I got still got 7,300 subscribers.
I mean, I just have to wonder, why is he offended by anti-racism? I think most people are fine with anti-racism.
I would think comparing levels of racism and trying to determine whether or not it causes more harm based on an era that we no longer live in, like focus on today. Like, does racism still exist? Yes. Okay, we need to take care of that. We need to handle that shit.
He says it doesn't.
But somehow there's anti-racism content. How can you have anti-racism content if racism doesn't exist? That doesn't make any sense.
That's the point.
How is that a market?
Yeah,
it's the narrative, man.
One just needs to go to Twitter to find out if racism exists. Like, come on, man.
You're getting it wrong. That's just free
speech.
Wait,
you mean
man.
Nazi Central?
I also want to point out, like, I know that I don't remember whose review I watched, but somebody was talking about how this film is almost, it's like, not only is it just propaganda and bullshit, but there's no way that he's really trying to look like someone else. It's literally just him with a wig on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, wait, he's trying to look like someone else in this?
Well, so apparently they also
that's Matt Walsh. Oh my God.
Apparently they like coach people or urge them to like say slurs or something like that, and then they cut that part out and just leave the part in where they actually say something offensive or whatever, and they're like, aha, you're the racist.
I'm no fan of Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm not like a huge fan of his, but at least he went to the effort of trying to be someone different in his film, so it didn't look like it was him. This is just literally Matt Walsh with the same wig he wore in like that fucking Lady Ballers movie. It's literally
and then he wore to the DNC as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize
Matt Walsh exposes the actual racism that still totally exists in this country. See, because racism's indiscriminate. It's indiscriminate. It's
so
very
it does
inclusive.
exist. Wait a minute,
Racism has become very diverse and inclusive. No surprise, the country is divided because that's what they wanted to do. They talk about other.
Is that some echo posting? Some three parentheses going around that, or what?
The anti-racists.
It's this weird thing where like conspiracy theory has wrapped up with like indoctrination now, and all of it sort of circles the same drain. Like I want to hear the X-Files theme in the background when he says that. Like,
you saw how they love Alex Jones. He loves them. They've been on several streams with him now at this point. Makes sense.
It's also plausible deniability because he can just say that's not who I was talking about. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I meant when I said that. Okay, bro.
It's Weasley.
I also want to add that Gary here has also done many streams of someone who's now a known Russian asset.
Yep,
that's
Benny Johnson. Surprise, surprise.
They have been othering conservatives, libertarians, Christians for a long time. And now they got to a point where they didn't just come out and say it, but back around 2016, they started to come out and say it.
2016.
There's a point in Am I Racist to get a little ahead where they're talking to Race to Dinner, and the woman says, "I'm an anti-racist. We need to abolish whiteness." That's a quote. We need to abolish whiteness, and she's one of 2 people who say that in the movie. Open.
I want to point out also that his fear of erasing what whiteness is the same fear that every single marginalized community has when they listen to content like this. Because him saying that erasing whiteness is a fear of his, while also campaigning against every queer person in media, every black person in media, every woman in media, he wants their community wants to erase that from visibility. So this whole idea that that's not what people think or feel, and like it's almost like, is there a cognitive dissonance with him, or is he aware of how this parallels all of their talking points? Is he even aware of that? I mean,
don't know, man.
I mean,
Yeah,
when you
it's
have an
hard to
IQ
tell.
that can be counted on a Ninja Turtle's hand, I don't think he realizes it.
Yeah.
No.
Unapologetically. And there's so much fucking hate. And these people look about as fun as a colonoscopy. It's something Jar Jar Abrams said back in 2020 while cities were burning. Enough white comfort. Their whole thing was to disrupt, and it's not just white, by the way, it's middle class. They say white.
Oh, they have to expand. That he has to expand it beyond whiteness.
Well, for the few people of color that buy into this shit. But also, I just there's this photo. I don't know what to make of this, man, but like, it seems kind of sus to me. Sorry.
Damn.
I don't know who added. I think Dane added the X-Files music, but that was great.
I was just gonna say, like, that was so perfectly placed because I thought it was him playing. Holy shit.
Middle class. They want to disrupt the comfort of the middle class.
I mean, the middle class is basically non-existent at this point, man. Jesus Christ.
I want to say this: the middle class is not mostly white people. Like, I mean, I hate to break it to him. Most of the people that he associates with at the top end are making way more money than like middle class money. So.
This fucking full-on Trump out and proud Trump voter is fucking trying to cape for the middle class, despite when Trump was.
You
in
have
office.
to fear for me. Look at my massive house and all of these things I own, but we're so afraid. Like, give me a break.
Trump cut taxes for billionaires and not the middle class, man. Like it's so frustrating.
The working man. They want them to be on their bat foot all the time. They want them to be defending themselves.
I'm sorry, I have to pause it one more time. The working man. What does he do for a living? He sits in front of his desk and talks on a microphone. And look, I get it. We all do this, right? But I'm not going to pretend that this is harder than somebody going to a factory and fucking making machine parts all day. Like, it's just not. Yeah. It's not even the same thing. You know what I mean? Like,
look, he's got a
rabbit. I have to adjust all my figurines in the background. That's hard work.
It's labor.
Look, you got to give it to him, man. He says the same shit over and over again. He's got to find a way to keep it interesting, keep it fresh. You know what I mean? That's a challenge, I bet. So, I'm just trying to give him a.
What are you talking?
I do have to sadly get going now because it is late in Europe. Okay. But it's been really cool.
I didn't hear you, Turf. You said you're gonna stay longer.
Yes, of course, as always. Yes.
It's been a pleasure, Turf. Like I said, I watched your videos before, and it's just nice to talk to you. Microphone.
Yeah, it's and it's also just really nice knowing that there's now another awesome voice, talking to I guess hitting back against these people a little bit, it's it makes me more optimistic for the future of YouTube and the fandom space. So that's awesome.
Yep. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully you come back another time. That would be awesome. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the show, people.
Will do. And so goes Turf Nation. We never saw him again.
No, I really mean that. I like Turf's videos too. So
he's
just
a great
nice
guy,
to
man.
talk to him.
He's a great guy, great videos. He unfortunately just lives in Denmark, so he, it's like, I don't know, 4 a.m. or some shit right now for him.
I get it. I'm on the West Coast, so I know my time.
I am too.
Time zone sucks for most people.
Real quick before we dive into this, I just want to bring up something real fast. So here's a list of some of the Russian goals they were doing when they were buying internet content. Two of the big ones here: risk of job loss for white Americans, privileges for people of color, perverts, and disabled. These are the types of arguments they want to push forward. The Russians do in American culture.
Well, what are you trying to say here, Bob?
I'm trying to say it's interesting how the stuff Gary's saying in particular in this video seems to ally with Russian goals.
Well, so there was another video he put out last year that somebody told me that it seems like it was kind of like an audition kind of video. It was very different from his usual content, and it was like specifically scripted and edited and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, this every once in a while he does something like that, and you just have to wonder. I don't know. I don't see any evidence that he's like a Russian asset or anything. I think it's more likely
he is, but
the shit that he says is useful to Russia. What Russia Putin wants. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, he could just be a byproduct of all of the Russian propaganda. I mean, there's a possibility. There's channels
that started in the chans and stuff like that out in the bowels of the internet.
He's just the downstream of the content that he's been engaging with, which is a lot of political.
That's that plausible deniability that we're talking about. Is that he could just say that. He could say, no,
absolutely
I was just radicalized. Like, I'm not being paid by Russia,
but
even though
he would have to pick another grift, though. He'd have to figure something out after that and pick a different one. What would it be next? I have no idea.
I covered a Tenet video after all this broke. I covered a Tenet video where it was Benny Johnson, Eric July, and Chris Gore. What's the interesting thing about that video is Benny Johnson doesn't say a whole lot in it. He just had Eric July and Chris Gore on there, and they're gabbing about how woke movies are and whatever, how The Acolyte sucks. And Benny Johnson's just there posting on Tenet Media.
If you didn't notice it in the intro, the reason that I included that kind of extended clip of them on his show for his 2 million subscriber, rolling over to 2 million subscribers, like that's a special event, man. That's somebody you're going to invite people that, the people that are there right there when you hit 2 million subs, they must be special people to you, right? And you got Gary. You got fucking Jeremy Griggs, and you got Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, that's interesting, kind of panel to have on for that moment, man. I don't know. And then, of course, there's sorry, go ahead.
I was going to bring Gary back up.
This is all the times that they've been, kind of crossed over content together in just the last year or so.
But could you imagine, say, for example, we were able to have someone on our podcast here that was connected to politics at all, someone progressive. Could you imagine how we would get raked across the coals for doing that? But they constantly do it, and it's just okay. They don't want to take any responsibility.
Vivek Ramaswamy on Friday Night Tights.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, Birdman, like, do you see this thing right here, that New Woke Order documentary kind of thing? We did some digging into that several months back and found that like this Nerd Wars is just it's an Info Wars thing. Like this,
I think I saw a video about that, like where what was it called, Into the Griftverse or something like that?
Oh yeah, Pillar of Garber's been doing some excellent work there with that stuff. Yeah. But yeah,
where is Pilar today? He's normally in here.
He's probably making videos and shit. He does.
I want to also point out that Pop Culture Crisis, which is another kind of chuddy podcast, is funded by Tim Pool. It's a Timcast production. So all of them seem to have their little offshoot like fandom content now.
Removing men ruined Hollywood because men just aren't in movies anymore, man. It's crazy. There's just not any fucking men in movies.
And they're showing a picture of Snow White, a character from a woman-led story, saying that removing men ruined Hollywood.
Oh, and then look at this. Nerd Wars, the woke apocalypse featuring nerd erotic, geeks and gamers, the critical drinker, Benny Johnson. Weird.
Eric, I don't know what you're talking about. I was excited for the Snow White movie starring Chris Pratt.
Exactly. That's my whole point. Like they're showing so they want to remove women because that story's always had a woman as a lead. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like literally the people that consume this media have to be some of the most mush-brain motherfuckers on the planet. Like
they don't know how to think for themselves. That's for sure. And they're scared of everything that's different and new, and so they have to have somebody that's going to tell them. Well, I guess they want somebody that's going to tell them it's all terrible and it's all going to kill you, and they're trying to hurt you and stuff like that.
They have to have these figureheads though. Like I think didn't she say something they didn't like or something like that? I don't remember what her quote
Rachel
was.
Zegler. She in a red carpet with her and Gal Gadot. She was talking about the upcoming movie, and she said they were changing the story because they felt like it was dated, and they wanted to make the story more reflective of like a more modern version of Snow White, because the movie is from 100 years ago. So
and the dude literally just like he fucking kisses her while she's sleeping. There's just not great connotations involved with that.
I would argue it's a hard movie to remake anyway, which is why it was kind of weird they were going to do that. But I mean, they're bringing it back and it's whatever. But between that and the fake pictures of like the 7 people that were supposed to be the 7 dwarves or whatever at that time, they just started to get a hate boner for the movie. And
Disney trolled them with that, man. Like,
I feel like it might have been a troll, but I will also say that they went to the trouble of pulling up a video of her from almost a year ago, where she was talking about, I believe it was Hunger Games, and they tried to frame it like she made it as a response to their criticism of her as Snow White. So they were sharing it as a it wasn't a fake video, but the video was being framed as a video about something it wasn't, and a lot of them spread that, and then they never recanted it. They all of them know it's not real, but they never took the videos down. They never did a follow-up and said we were wrong about that.
Didn't they do that before? Like they've done that before. I'm having a brain fart about like who they did that about.
They did that kind of recently with Amanda Steinberg and the Acolyte. Yeah, they had that old Daily Show clip where she says something about how it's about making white men uncomfortable. And she's not talking about the fucking Acolyte. She's talking about what the hate you give.
Yeah, but also, like, what sense would it make to say that about the Acolyte? That's the thing that I don't understand.
Yeah.
They come up with this story like, oh, she said she wants to make white men uncomfortable because of the Acolyte.
Yeah,
they don't.
What does
they
that
don't
even
fact,
mean?
They don't fact check the people they're following, and I'm talking about their audience. They could just say whatever the fuck they want, and they just get away with it. And that's, I think, the most frustrating thing for me as a person who like. I like evidence. I like to see like 1 + 1 = 2, and I like to see exactly how it equals 2. You know what I mean? So like that's what's really frustrating for me, is that they'll just say something and people just accept it. I'll never understand that.
Birdman, I don't know if you saw or not, but both Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic have been on Access Media shows, but yet they say Access Media is bad. They've done that constantly, and they've done interviews and roundtable discussions with Access Media recently. And when I pointed that out in a video, they're like, "Oh, but it's different when it's them," and that's when you know they have people locked in. That's when you know that people are willing to do anything for them, because they're willing to compromise the indoctrination these channels have done to them about like anything other than us, anything other than our group telling you things. They're all liars. And so they can go out and do these Access Media interviews and things like that. They've been on Piers Morgan a couple times now.
I did see that. I did see that.
And so it's
because they didn't know what to do whenever that one guy was kind of spitting some facts at them, and they're just like, they look all indignant. They didn't have any arguments though.
Because they have a script. That's it. They have a script. If you've ever watched Friday Night Tights, it's become so I don't know. It feels like a TV show production because they all clap at the same time and stuff. It's a weird show now.
And we've been talking to people that are like kind of out of their audience recently. You know what I mean? Like guys, there's one guy in particular that first he went to your channel, Eric, and then I had a conversation with him on mine a couple of weeks ago where he's like, he's a conservative, he's an older guy, but he was like part of their audience generally, and like him and some other guys, they started noticing the formulaic nature of their shows and like how it's all just kind of forced in a way, ironically, because they used to talk about forced diversity and shit.
Which I've covered that stupid statement before too.
Do you think the parasocial relationship, people forget anyone can grab a camera or not? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'll be honest. So, and if you've never gotten on a camera and made a YouTube video, it seems really fucking impressive that other people can do that. That's how I used to see it. Now I'm just like, whatever, but like I used to think, man, I don't know if I could do that. Get on a video and just get in front of people and say stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's just an element of that, in my opinion.
I call it the TikTok effect. I think a lot of people that weren't savvy with technology learned how to do all of this starting in with like TikTok, because TikTok made it super easy for even like grandmothers to get on social media. And so they kind of got connected that way. And now we're getting that community sort of coming into long form content, more like podcast content.
Well, so all right. Well, you know what? We don't need to watch this Nerd Rock video. We know he's full of shit. What I think the people want to know is what we think about this Jeremy Johns situation.
Yeah, I was about ready to say. So yeah, this is an interesting thing to go over because I have not seen his review. I will say I actually don't have an issue with people reviewing it, but you have to do it with context. Like I'm going to be reviewing Megaopolis, Lopolis, however you pronounce it, in a couple weeks. There is lots of controversy about that, and I plan on before really diving into the movie discussing that and like saying okay, there's problematic elements. That being said, Francis Ford Coppola has not made a name for himself as being an internet bigot. Matt Walsh has.
Right.
So that's
I have
something
some
you should really
information here.
handle. Yeah.
This is the stuff that I think is necessary like that. And I've seen a lot of people saying that like, oh, the woke lefties are melting down because he reviewed a movie they don't like or whatever. It's like, that's once again, man, you're oversimplifying things. The reason that I think generally people are, kind of like, what the fuck, Jeremy Johns, is because he's generally been a pretty middle of the road guy. He's had a couple of yikesy moments in his past that I've dug into and found, but like nothing that's like makes him inherently a terrible person or anything. But so this is Matt Walsh is not fucking Sacha Baron Cohen. Okay.
No.
And that kind of seems like what the general thing is. People, what about Borat or whatever? It's like, that's not the same thing, because here's what Sacha Baron Cohen is not. He's not, he doesn't frequently demonize LGBTQ people, promote racist and anti-transgender conspiracy theories. He doesn't lead, this is Matt Walsh, does lead campaigns against gender-affirming healthcare that have targeted American hospitals with harassment, and has advocated executing doctors who provide healthcare to transgender people. He's also known for perpetuating the notion of anti-white racism, which is grounded in white supremacy, and spreading conspiracy theories about supposed campaigns of anti-white violence. He's a self-described theocratic fascist. And he later in another point he said he was kind of just joking or whatever. And but his comments regularly reflect male white supremacy and transphobia, and are often used by radical right-wing extremists against marginalized communities. He hosts the Matt Walsh Show on the Daily Wire, and has written several books that promote anti-trans pseudoscience and conspiracy theories. He's advocated political violence and violence against transgender people and medical providers. Some of these facilities that he's talked about have received bomb threats multiple times, actually.
I actually partially think the use of Matt Walsh as part of the Daily Wire is to make Ben Shapiro look more reasonable, because he's just so fucking outrageous.
I mean, it kind of works. So here's some quotes from him. The goal is to make pride toxic for brands. If they decide to shove this garbage in our face, they should know that they'll pay a price. It won't be worth whatever they think they'll gain. First Bud Light and now Target. Our campaign is making progress. Let's keep it going.
Sounds like cancel culture to me, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking. The gay pride flag signifies drag queens dancing for toddlers, males invading women's bathrooms. It signifies castration drugs given to children. It signifies the destruction of the nuclear family. When government officials send that thing up in the flagpole or paint its ridiculous colors in the street, that's what they're promoting. It's what they're advertising. It is the cause they want us to salute. Not only should we refuse to salute it, but we should treat it with disdain. We should treat it as a hate symbol, because that's what it is. They fly that flag, because they hate you and your values and what you believe and everything you stand for. So
sounds reasonable.
This guy's not just some filmmaker. It's not just some film. This is not a mockumentary.
Which was my response to people that talked about my criticism of Jeremy Johns and the way he framed his review, because some movies require more context when you're going into them, especially movies made by corporations like Daily Wire. Like, it requires you to have more context.
Well, we
don't have news outlets.
Freedom keeps getting brought up too, because he also reviewed that.
And that was when I unsubbed from him. I unsubbed from him with Sound of Freedom, because I watched that review and I was like, he's going to talk about the controversy, right? He's going to mention something about that in his review. And then he never did it. I was like, that's it, I'm out. Because I can't, like, it's one thing to be a movie reviewer, film reviewer, whatever, and that's your job. I get it. I don't have an issue with that. But you need to come in, and if there's something big, like some sort of heavy controversy around this documentary, propaganda, movie, whatever, you need to make that aware to the people that are watching your review of said project. You have to. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I've watched, God damn, I've watched Dinesh D'Souza movies. Oh God, they're so bad. But
They're
I've
bad.
seen
I
them.
saw one in the theater.
You know.
So I guess I'm a little different.
Okay.
I go into films like I consider myself apolitical, and when I go into films, I'm not looking at like the controversy surrounding them. Like, for example, I played Hogwarts Legacy on stream. I know people were losing subscribers for doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't care about like outside controversy when I see a thing. So, like, for example, the Megalopolis example, I'm going to go watch that movie. I know that he had some misconduct. You know, he had people sitting on his lap or whatever it was. Like, it was kind of crazy. For me, that doesn't really factor into the art. So I didn't really have a problem with Jeremy Jahns reviewing the movie. I knew that he was going to get some pushback. Like I saw that coming, but I didn't really have an issue
I think
with him
where
reviewing
we
the
come
film.
from with it is not that we're like coming at this movie and then looking for the controversy around it. It's that we are already aware of the controversy because we care about these issues generally, and we care about the people that are like the most harmful, people
Sure.
advocating against, people that we love, people that, generally people.
And you know what? I think that's an incredibly valid way to look at the situation. I'm just saying, for me, I really don't have an issue with someone wanting to review the film. I'm not going to review the film because I'm not going to watch the movie.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, and that's kind of how I've been about the whole situation myself. Is there are certain things we talked about this with Hogwarts Legacy, and I think Dane, you. Not to completely derail the Jeremy Jahns thing, but I think it is important since Birdman mentioned it. But you talked about the fact that you were struggling a little bit because of what that meant to someone in your family. I don't remember the exact.
Yeah, my daughter.
Yeah. And how, like, do you say, no, you can't play this because of, this reason? Or do you try and separate J.K. Rowling's activity with all the work that was done on the game and all the people associated with the game? And that's kind of,
right.
With, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's really tough. And
well, I mean, I think the difference is that the video game is not is not made to do a certain thing against certain people, and this movie is.
I think another thing to also add to it is the fact that like Harry Potter was an established brand before J.K. Rowling decided to make her brand transphobic.
I mean, for me, ultimately, it's like it's like Daily Wire and Matt Walsh are not trying to make a piece of art that's going to create conversation. They're trying to make it to build the conversation, to build the narrative. And so, of course, I'm not going to go watch the film. I have no interest in it. We're probably going to see enough clips of it over the next few months that it won't even matter. But I think my issue is that, and this is why, we talk about the grandfather thing or whatever. I've been watching Jeremy Jahns for years. Like, he's someone between him and Chris Stuckman, those were my two like go-to channels for like reviews, because they didn't necessarily tell me that I had to go see something, but more times than not, I trusted that they were going to give me all of the information I need going into a movie without spoiling the movie for me.
Sure.
And that's kind of why I watched their content. They were both kind of entertaining. I'll say that I have had to face so much backlash, anti-gay backlash, because of Matt Walsh. I guess there's a little bit of bias in me that wanted Jeremy Jahns to consider that just a bit before he went through without mentioning any of that stuff leading up to the movie. Because I know the movie isn't an anti-gay movie, but it is a movie poking fun at race. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I wish he would have done more, but I had to stop watching him because of Sound of Freedom, because I felt like that was another one where it almost felt as if he just wasn't doing he wasn't reviewing it the way that I appreciated it. And I think everybody, and I'll say this to anybody that's watching the streams and whatnot, if you're engaging in a channel and all of a sudden it doesn't feel like it's where you want to be, you don't have to stay there. You can leave, you can go away. And that includes any channel, whether it be, hopefully not one of our channels, but any channel. If there's something that we're doing that you feel like it's better served for you not to be a part of it, I mean, you can definitely tap out. That was it for me with Jeremy Jahns.
I wanted to say that Birdman, like in your perspective on this, man, is incredibly common, and I don't think it's necessarily like it's not a bad thing. You know, that we do definitely seek out to engage with a lot of this stuff. You know, just by it honestly came the way for me anyway. I approached this stuff 5 years ago is when I started making content about Comicsgate in particular, and I was just like, I noticed some lies that were being told about comics, just like how you started out talking about like they're lying about this stuff, man. And and I started making content, and just over time I started learning more about what are the points that they're making, and I just would have to I just learned more, you know what I mean, started listening to perspectives and what it is that people that are harmed by these narratives and stuff like that are generally what I could learn, and how can I effectively push back. But
I agree, and that's really where I came at the critical drinker, right? I used to watch his content. And then I started to notice everything was straight white male, straight white male, straight white male. It's like you hear that enough, you're like, okay, well, this person has a bias, and it's pretty clear, and it's not a value that I share. I like the movie review at being a fan of film, so it got to a point where I announced on Twitter, I was like, you know what, I'm done with this guy because I can't follow this. So like for me as a follower of Jeremy Johns, I'm still a subscriber to him. Sure. If I saw him do that type of stuff over and over, then yeah, I would be out. I'd be done, because like at that point, I'm seeing that your flavor of politics is coloring your reviews, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to hear about a movie so that I can make a purchase decision. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. That's the way that I approach film review. So like if you watch any of my reviews, you never get that shit. Because that's not a value I hold. It's not something I care about. It's not like I'm not going in going, okay, so is this movie woke? Is this movie anti-male? I don't give a shit. Like I care about the story. I care about what they're presenting in that story. If that story has politics, like let's say for example, like an X-Men film might, I would engage with that story's politics. I would not bring my own into it and try to say this film has a message, is trying to poison the youth.
I've said for a while, Birdman, that most casual viewers, or like the audience that goes out to view movies and TV shows and stuff, it's more about how they feel about these films and these projects than it is about all of the other like nuanced, pedantic details that a lot of people go into. And like if I were to ask somebody when they left from, Barbie, for example, would they say, oh, that was a woke movie? Probably not. I would guess most people that went and saw that movie wouldn't even use that word to describe how they felt about the movie. But it seems to be a massive talking point, here on social media, especially on YouTube.
Oh, dude, I've been saying forever that this is a very loud minority, but they are loud enough that
they are so loud
that I'm hearing it.
And it creeps into everything, man. Like we were talking about earlier, just basically you can't talk about almost anything anymore without somebody, popping their head up and be like, oh, but it's woke or whatever.
And I think we're all like sensitive to it because like we work on the internet, and like this is where it's loudest. Like the mainstream audience, they don't give a shit about this stuff. Right. Like a lot of them don't.
I mean, but I will say that generally that's true. But there are some of these narratives I've heard them in real life, so to speak. In my day to day, like I'll be talking to somebody that doesn't seem like any kind of chud or whatever, and it's just like he'll mention something about the message or whatever that's happened once, and it's like
sure. And I think since Eric asked me that question, he's like, did I feel like this was the time? It's that pressure, it's mounting because like it's starting to bleed over into like our real lives, and I feel like that's where we need to make that stand. It's we need to start fighting back against this shit and start proving to people that may be on the fence. Like some people are just so far over the fucking fence that they'll never be brought back. Right. But like the people who are on the fence or heading towards that center line, like we need to show them that these people are just, first of all, they're not honest. They're bullshit artists. They're scammers. They're grifters. They're political types being paid by fucking Russia. Like, you know what I mean? Like we need to show that stuff to those people that might be susceptible to this.
Yeah.
100%, I want to respond to one comment here quickly, if we could, from Kid 50 here. Thank you for supporting. I don't know which channel you're supporting on, but thank you for supporting the channel. Mainstream audience doesn't care as long as no one is preaching at them. This is a weird, like, I guess a more common thing that I hear like now than I used to hear before. A lot of people forget that movies and TV shows, especially things that were made for kids back in the 80s and stuff, almost had to have a message in them. That was one of the criteria for a lot of media, especially Saturday morning cartoons, was that there was some sort of like, I mean, you remember like G.I. Joe, at the end of G.I. Joe it would say knowing is half the battle.
Yep.
And then you get some sort of message at the end. Same thing with He-Man and a lot of these things. I think this modern concept of people being preached at or things like that, I do believe that what people consider preaching is going to be different for everybody. Like you're going to go to a movie and some people would consider, like you were saying, Birdman, you know, if something like the X-Men has something related to specifically mutant rights or things like that, it might be absolutely warranted in that space. But then they might come out of that and go, well, the movie was preaching to me because they somehow drew an allegory to what they were saying there with something in their real life. So I think it's such a nuanced thing. You know, I just don't like having it shoved in my face. Yeah, Chariot.
Now, Chariot, they don't like having it shoved down their throat. They say that a
right,
lot.
exactly.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, true. But I mean, it's going to be different for everybody. So
the other aspect of this Jeremy Jahns thing, and this is not, you know, really the one that I just thought it was. Maybe it was kind of fucked up, but I thought this was kind of funny. I made this thumbnail.
Yeah, I didn't know. Look, the thing is, this is crazy. Until, like, I guess when the whole Sound of Freedom thing came out, I didn't even know that he had done this in a video. Like, it was buried.
I didn't know.
It was buried. I didn't know. Yeah. And then they were like, oh, did you see his Blade review? I'm like, I don't think I saw that.
Blade, it was actually Twilight, I think, in 20.
Oh, was it?
Okay. Twilight. Yeah. He was Blade popping up in Twilight to kill vampires.
Yeah, whichever one it was, though, I was like, no, I didn't see it. And then somebody shared the clip, and I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, I mean, this is crazy.
You know, for one thing, it's obviously not my thing to be, like, offended for anybody. So, but I mean, I wasn't personally offended by it, but I'm like, how he did this in like what 2011, 2012, whenever this came out, and it wasn't a bigger story. I'm just kind of shocked. I was trying to think, would I have thought about? I don't know if I knew blackface was like the history of it back then or not, but I still don't think I would have gone so far as to paint myself up for any reason. You know what I mean? I think I would have. Something would have told me, don't do that.
I'm just curious because Birdman, did you see this when it came out, or was this something that you found out about later about this whole
it was something I found out about later. Yeah. I forget exactly when I found out about it, because like I was, if I'm not mistaken, on NeoGAF years ago.
Oh gosh.
And, yeah.
Takes me back.
And I think they brought it up there. This was back when, like, before the Reset era split. So like NeoGAF was very heavily political at that time. So like they brought it up at that moment. I was like, oh, okay, he did that. That's a thing that he did.
Did he ever has he ever addressed it or anything? Has he ever talked about
the question I was just going to ask. Has he ever talked about it? I don't know.
I mean, he hasn't done it again. We would probably find that if he had, so that's good. But
part of me is like, wow, you know, has he addressed this and said, wow, maybe that was a bad idea? But then again, another part of me is like, how do you not know that's not a bad idea? That's obviously a bad idea going into it.
You know, the funny thing about the blackface situation, that it's like the skin painting didn't even bother me. It was the fucking hair. Blade does not have hair like that.
Exactly. I saw that too. A lot of people were going like, it's one thing to just go out and do that, but it's another thing to just like, why are you wearing, you know, this Afro Bob Marley thing or whatever? And I was like,
what is that?
Blade is very famous for his Afro. What?
Exactly.
Like Blade is known for a fade, right? I mean, that's what he normally has.
It's a very specific type of fade too. So it's like, how did you miss that?
Jesus.
I mean, it would have been easier just to do how Blade actually looks.
I mean,
you know, almost
his like normal hair looks more like Blade's hair.
Right.
What was the joke? Yeah, I don't know what the joke was.
The joke was that he's black, apparently.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, I don't know.
I think Duckman also had something that was similar to that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, you're right. Was it a rap, or he did something that was
a homophobic thing? I believe.
Was it
rap? Something like that? I vaguely
it was very questionable.
So the funny thing about Stuckman is completely unrelated to what we're talking about here. Was when he came out and talked about like dropping all of his review content when he first started making, I think his first independent film. He was like, I'm not going to be doing reviews on this channel anymore and blah, 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 or whatever. I basically unsubscribed, and it wasn't because I didn't support what he was doing. He made it seem like he wasn't going to continue, reviewing content. And I was just like, well, there's no point in me sticking around here for like behind the scenes on his movie and so I wasn't really interested in that. And so, and then now I guess he's doing it again, or he's reviewing stuff still, like not all the time, but
essentially he only reviews stuff that he's going to give a positive review to. Lots of people think that means he's just going to gush all over everything.
Yeah, because I remember the whole thing
It's,
about well, I can't remember. Was it the Marvels? What was it that he was like? He didn't.
No, it was Madam Web.
Madam
that's right.
Web.
It was Madam
That's
Web.
what it was. Yeah,
which wasn't actually a review.
Well, I mean, the fact that he said he wasn't going to trash it tells you that he probably didn't like it. So I mean, that pretty much, it just takes a little bit of like thinking to critical thinking to go.
Well, what was crazy to me is that like, okay, that's what he decides he doesn't want to do that with his content, where he wants, even if he doesn't like a movie, he doesn't see the value anymore of like just shitting on it and shitting on what the creators tried to do despite studio interference and stuff. And then you see these guys that we normally talk about saying that that he was doing that just because he's making movies now and he doesn't want to piss anybody off in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if that's really the case, maybe, but like really, it just seems like once you learn how hard it is to make a movie, that you might have a little more empathy for.
Well, that's the funny thing is that it's like two sides of a coin. When you have Chris Stuckman, who says, I understand the filmmaking is a tough thing, so I'm not going to trash films so flippantly, and then you have someone like Critical Drinker who makes movies like, I'm still going to trash every fucking movie in Hollywood. And it's like, it's just a weird dichotomy there in that situation.
I think it speaks to the audiences, like they really don't want a variety in content. They like certain people want to hear the same thing over and over. And I'll take it a step further. I think a lot of people want to hear people echo their own sentiment. Yeah, like they want to hear their thoughts repeated from someone else. So, like when Stuckman said, "I'm not going to go through my A through F scale anymore," they found that to be like a betrayal. There was a huge controversy about that. I don't know if y'all saw that. Like, it was insane.
Yeah,
like,
I do remember that. Yeah, it's coming back to me.
Yeah, like they shit on him for that, and I'm still subscribed to him. I watch his reviews, and I see that he's still pretty fair to a movie that may be good or a movie that may be bad, and he'll tell you the good and bad. He just doesn't do the A through F scale anymore.
Not at the level of Chris Stuckman, but when I was reviewing TV show episodes, I used to do like a 1 through 10 ranking. Like I would say what I would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And after a few years of doing that, I found that it was kind of pointless because it wasn't that I couldn't grade them. I could probably come up with a number for them. It's just that people complained if I gave something a 7, they would say, "Oh, you must have hated it because you gave it a 7 out of 10." I'm like,
"Oh my God.
No, I actually thought it was above average. It just wasn't my favorite episode." And I just got tired of defending my number, so I stopped doing it. And this is weird. Like you are cracking my brain with this right now because I didn't understand why people were so upset that I stopped doing my scoring. And I think it's because of the repetition of it. It's like a habit, you get used to something and that's what they come back for. You know what I mean? That's what they want to see.
Yeah. What? I have people fast forward through my fucking videos just to get to the letter grade that I get.
Yeah.
I think part of it, man, is that people aren't confident in their ability to like, there's like a social pressure involved with like having a good opinion on this stuff, seems like.
Oh man. Tell me about it.
So they want to have one that they know that, that like I guess they want to be able to talk about it, I guess, in a way that they're not confident to talk about it with just on their own. Like out of their own heads, they got to confirm what they're thinking or whatever. I don't know. It seems, I guess I kind of remember a time whenever I was less confident with my takes on movies and stuff, but it was a long time ago.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I was going to say, didn't Moist Criticals just stop doing the Moist meter? Like he does the Moist meter, but he doesn't give a score anymore.
Yeah. I don't think he gives a score anymore. I can't remember the last time I saw him give a score, to be honest. On any of his stuff. But it's crazy, man. But it's almost time for me to go spin some music. I have to play some records tonight, so I'm getting out of here. But thank you guys so much. It was nice meeting you, Birdman. I can't wait to see more of your content and hopefully have another chat with you eventually.
It's a pleasure.
Sure. And everybody have a great day. Everybody in my stream, be good. Don't get banned while I'm gone. I don't want to come back and see banned names.
Man, chat's been really good today.
Yeah, I know. Cool. Well, I actually put it on I don't normally do this, but in my chat I have it on subscriber only mode, which I don't normally do. So maybe
I'm just gonna go ban everybody in your chat. Okay.
No, please don't. No. I didn't tell him to do this, guys. This is Bob is doing it on his own. Anyway, all right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Birdman, and see everybody later. Have a great day.
Later.
Cool.
Later.
So then, like one just kind of try and tie a couple of the topics we had in, together here real quick. So then a weird thing happened after Jeremy John's video, and then a couple days go by, and people are having their takes and stuff like that. And there's definitely some people that are being overboard with it. It's like, and that makes it difficult for to have any kind of nuanced conversation about like, well, if he just would be like a little more responsible with what he's talking about, nonetheless. Then you get then you get critical. Well, first you get Matt Walsh. Sorry, I was trying to remember who all got involved in this and in what the chronological order was.
Oh yeah.
Let me find where Matt Walsh actually retweeted or tweeted his review. And essentially said, hey, more people need to be, check this guy out or whatever. And yeah. Oh, here it is. And that's not
I'm not
ideal.
gonna lie. If I were Chris Stuckman and I just wanted to do a movie review and I just reviewed that, I'd feel gross after that.
You mean Jeremy Johns?
Yeah, Jeremy Johns. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be like, oh, I'm deleting this video now. I'm privating it.
Yeah. I saw this when it went up, and I was like, dude, this is probably one of the worst things for me. Like, I wouldn't want to be platformed by this fucking guy, because like
there's so many people I'd love to platform me. Matt Walsh can go fuck off.
Yeah,
right.
Like I have no business with his audience. I want none of their views. Like one thing about me, dude, is I don't really care how many subscribers I have or viewers I have, because like I'm gonna say what I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
And like I'm not going to play to an audience. So for him to platform me would be detrimental, because like I'm going to say some things that his audience is going to be pissed off about.
We know exactly what you mean, because we've been trying to get guys like Drinker and stuff to platform us for a couple of years now, and they know better than to do it. They just won't do it. They won't address us by name. Typically, they won't. If they do, they're very dismissive, and they act like they don't understand our criticisms or something, even though they know a lot about us. It seems like, they know better than to fucking give us the spotlight.
Well,
Neurotics
they know
a
me
lot about me without knowing anything about me.
Right.
They know me, so
then it got a little bit weird from there, because then you had this guy got involved, Matt Jarbo, who's I'm sort of friends with that guy, and he had a take talking about essentially what we're saying, more or less, that midlife crisis Jeremy Johns. Well, we weren't saying that. Midlife crisis Jeremy Johns is not the villain origin story I was expecting. And I don't see necessarily a villain origin story here. Not
necessarily, but I do think it's funny.
I mean, it depends on how Jeremy Johns reacts to what happened next, man. Because then you get Critical Drinker saying this.
Of course, he jumps into the fray. Of course,
and honestly, I with the way like Star Wars Theory, I don't know if you followed any of that stuff going on lately, man, but like
I've seen a bit of it. I'm not as educated on the topic as I could be. Like he's one of the people that people have been saying, hey, you should make a video on. So I guess I need to start doing research.
He's definitely made a slide, you know what I mean, from what he used to be doing to where he's at now, right? Like, so we've no time to get into it today, really, but like he used to be more I guess less toxic, less hostile in general and stuff like that. Generally pretty chill guy. Then over time he started hanging out with Th3Birdman, started going, hanging out with those guys, streaming with them, and Mahler and all these guys, Drinker, and you started to see him be a little bit more a little bit more like those guys. Now he doesn't say anything overtly shitty like they constantly do, really. That I've seen, even though somebody said that he thinks he can say the N-word for some reason. I don't know how true that is, but and I just all the stuff that popped off the last couple of weeks with Star Wars Theory and Star Wars Explained and stuff. It's all really unfortunate, because Star Wars Explained, as far as I can tell, didn't do shit really that deserve the kind of harassment they're getting, and nonetheless, it seems like kind of Th3Birdman might have, for lack of a better word, groom that dude a little bit. You know what I mean? To like bring him in under his wing.
Well, I think that it's a slippery slope. That here's what I want to say about Jeremy Johns. Actually, it's like this is a good test for him, because does he fall into the right wing grift?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, like if there's pushback on something that he did, right? So you either rise like a phoenix from it, or you fucking succumb to the ashes. Like, so I think it's a good test for him. Is he going to go, okay, well, fuck everybody who doesn't like that I reviewed this movie? You know, now I'm going to fall into the right wing grift and I'm going to start doing that. Or does he stick to his guns and go, look, I just reviewed a film and it's a movie. I'm a movie reviewer. This is what I do, and just accept that people had a problem with what you did.
Right.
Like sometimes this is how I look at it. Sometimes it's okay to just accept that you pissed some people off. Right.
Yeah.
Like you did a thing and accept the consequences of that action. But like a lot of these people, like what I'm assuming about Star Wars Theory is he did a thing, people didn't like it, and he said, you know what, I'm going to succumb to the grift. I'm gonna do it because, like, first of all, I've got a lot of views from this. I got a lot of money from this. You know what I mean?
So I think that he's definitely, you know, it's one thing to say he loves Star Wars, obviously, and then now he doesn't like what they've done with it. That's a valid thing. That's fine. You know, as long as you're not just like because it's got, you know, women and black people in it or something like that. But like just saying that you don't really dig the movies anymore, you kind of become a little pessimistic on them, you know, just soured on what they're doing. That's fine. Like, but I think that leaves him open and vulnerable to somebody like Nerdrotic to say, yeah, man, isn't it terrible? Star Wars is bad now, right? You know, and in that way, I don't feel like Jeremy Jahns is that susceptible to it because he doesn't seem like somebody who's just got a bad attitude about movies in general. You know what I mean?
That's really my position on him is that I don't think that he will. But like again, this is a test. It's do you want to make a lot of money and say fuck your morals, or are you just going to stick to your guns and just review the movies and just accept that people had a problem with you reviewing this particular film?
Well, okay, see movie studios, man. I'm not trying to, you know, look. We had a pretty chill day in chat today, so I'm not gonna like start getting on you. But I mean, we literally addressed this at the top of the conversation about it, man. Like, nobody's mad because he just reviewed a movie, right? There's context. If you can apply some context, that'd be cool. Or at least nobody on this show is mad because he reviewed the movie, right? Like it's not inherently evil to just review this movie.
I mean, when we went into this discussion, one of my points was I think you should be allowed to review any movie.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, even if the movie, like I said on Twitter, if the movie was amazing, if it was a fucking fantastic film, you say that. Say it's great, man. Like, don't lie or anything just because you don't like the guy's politics. You say, no, it's great. But also, you should know this about Matt Walsh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just where my ethical standards are there. But
I mean, like, dude, like he's not just like a random dude asking an innocent question. Like it's very loaded.
Just like what is a woman, right?
This is literally his second movie doing the exact same shtick. You should be aware of this.
Well, then
like, did Jeremy review What is a Woman?
I don't feel like he did because I've seen a lot of takes about this in the last day or so, and I haven't seen anybody mention that. So,
interesting.
Not that I see. I wonder if he did Lady Ballers.
I think maybe I don't know. I mean, Lady Ballers is still, you know, technically it's from the Daily Wire. It's just propaganda. Let's be honest. But like, you know, it still is. At least has a narrative and isn't just like trying to trick people into saying whatever. I don't know. I haven't seen this movie, and I likely never will. But that's what I've read is kind of the gist of it. So,
I see.
If I ever feel like just absolutely raking a movie over the coals, maybe I don't know. There's probably more fun movies to rake over the coals though.
I was trying to find this earlier, Birdman, when we were talking about this this topic. But here's a short that I made.
Can't shake the feeling that the script is doing everything in its power to play down Peter Parker, like it's afraid the audience will somehow start rooting for him over Miles if he's shown to be too capable and confident. It doesn't even make any sense! The first movie portrayed him as an aging, burned-out loser who only redeems himself at the end, while the second film morphs him into a bumbling, hapless father in a pink bathrobe.
I fucking hate you.
Who for some reason keeps taking his baby along on life-threatening adventures, despite having a perfectly capable mother at home to look after it.
You are not serious people.
Is this some weird attempt to mock and belittle the Spider-Man that most people know and love, who incidentally just happens to be the only straight white man in the entire movie?
It's kind of homophobic, man.
Dude. I don't know, man. It just kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth, that's all.
You are bullshit. You're fucking bullshit.
That was right whenever the show was Succession was ending, so I listened.
Man, that quote bothers me so much. Like I've heard it so, because I made a video about that, so I've been listening to that over and over, and it's just grating now. It's just I can barely stand to listen to him say that shit because it's just so obviously wrong. I can't understand anyone that took that seriously.
Well, I mean, did he get nerfed, or was it just not his story, right? Like, and also a lot of people seem to think that like Drinker, damn, dogs are barking. Drinker says there, and I've seen other people just defending it, right? That like that's the Peter Parker we know and love, but it is not the Peter Parker we know and love. It's Peter B. Parker.
Yeah,
an alternate universe Peter Parker. I don't know how you missed that watching the movie, but
I don't know how you think the blonde haired dude is the Peter Parker we know and love. You know, or not the blonde hair, but like, yeah, the guy that.
He said he got nerfed in the second film. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, like, nerfed in what way? Again, the story is not about him.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even if we go back to Into the Spider-Verse, sure, Peter B. Parker had a bigger role as kind of the mentor character, but it still wasn't about him. Both stories are about Miles, and then the second one has a bit more about Gwen, but that's it.
Yeah, I don't get the nerfed. Like, I don't know what you mean by that. What does nerfed mean? Like, when I hear nerfed, I mean, like, okay, so they got weaker, their powers are weak. You know what I mean? Like, when you say nerfed, are you talking about like in terms of importance to the story?
Yeah,
because like,
yeah, that's true. I'm used to nerf just meaning video games.
Right? Yeah, like, you know, like a gun is too powerful in Call of Duty.
Last time I heard that about a movie was somebody saying that Thor was nerfed in the MCU. And it was like, well, maybe until like basically Ragnarok he was. Maybe make that argument, but I don't know. Yeah.
What else do we have? I see what he's saying. He said he's talking about does it make sense to focus? Personally, I think it makes sense to focus on Miles. That's what he said. I don't know. For me, like the film is both the films are very clearly about Miles.
Yeah.
You know, these people have said for so long, oh, well, and so like I come from a comic book background. So
same.
These people have said for so long that Miles doesn't have a story. He doesn't have you know, his own thing. And they finally do it, and people are upset about it. That's what bothers me.
I didn't know you were a comic book guy, man. We got some shit to show you now. We got to show him that Miles thing with our buddy Eric July.
Oh God.
You know about that guy?
Yeah. I talk about him sparingly, but yeah, I don't like him. he's one of those guys that I just
debated him.
Oh, you debated him, Bob?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He it was interesting.
Is that like a public video or?
It
is on my channel. He took his down.
We got several little things clipped from it, you know, that like he was generally
rocky, I will say that, but then as it goes, it gets way like he doesn't do great towards the end.
No, because he's got his little tactics and stuff like that he avoids, like, you know, consistency or having to really answer stuff he doesn't want to answer for and things like that. And you know, Bob kind of, I think he was a little bit he underestimated Bob, that's for sure. And you know, then at the end he did like a 2-hour cope stream after the debate where he's just like ranting and screaming, you know, talking about how he's built for fighting or something like that, and just like all this crazy shit making.
If you ever look at my comments and see somebody talk about Tyrone, that's 100% because Eric July made up the story about how my wife left me and took my kids to be with Tyrone.
Well, see, it's different points in his rant, though. He's saying you left at one point, and then another point he's saying Tyrone actually. So he can't even get his own fucking lie straight. Just like in this case that we're about to see here. So yeah.
Have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
Talking about Peter Darker.
Fun fact, Eric used to like the character, even saying he's more than just a black Peter Parker, but he changed his tune when he found out he could make more money pandering to racist comic book fans who hate Miles Morales.
I did
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Did you used to like him?
Not judging or whatever. Just curious.
No. Do you like Miles Morales then?
No.
Yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
Talking about Peter Darker.
But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
And it will always be preferable to have another character with his own unique skill set, unique art. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
I did see that take before. Let me use this in a video, please. Like, do I have your permission?
Dude, please. Anything any of these griff clips that I've put together, we've got probably a dozen of them, man. You're welcome to all of them.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are on the Shill Clips channel, and they're there specifically to be shared.
There's
oh my god,
a couple of them to the playlist, but yeah, if you go to our Shill Clips channel, it's just at Shillcast on YouTube. There's a playlist of them, and anybody's welcome to take them and do whatever you want to do with them, man. It's all yours.
You know what I've noticed is that if you dig deep enough, you'll find something like this on every single one of them.
Oh yeah,
all of them. And I think some of them have taken. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the one that's a little bit tougher would be Critical Drinker, because like his character started immediately into the grift.
Well,
although, if you go like looking into his books and stuff like that, there's definitely contradictions.
Well, I mean, isn't his female character? What's her name? Maris. I think that's what it is. Like she's like a strong female character.
I've heard she's totally a girl boss. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he doesn't even believe the shit he's putting out there.
I mean, there's stuff like this. It's not really exposing him as much as the grifter, just as being like completely fucking wrong in his analysis, like the this one.
You did something very interesting with Star Wars. If you think about it, the good guys are the rebels. They're using asymmetric warfare against a highly organized empire. I think we call those guys terrorists today. We call them Mujahideen, we call them Al-Qaeda.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
Yes.
So it was a very anti-authoritarian, very kind of 60s against the man kind of thing, nested deep inside of a fantasy.
Or a colonial, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
And we're just a bunch of hayseeds in coonskin hats who don't know nothing.
That's right.
And it was the same thing with the Vietnamese.
Yep.
The irony of that one is in both of those, the little guys won.
Right.
And
so just like
that particular clip, I'm actually including it in the next video that I'm uploading, the Vietnamese War parallel, because again, I was talking about the movie The Creator, and that film like parallels the Vietnam War, and so does Rogue One, and the director for both those films is Gareth Edwards.
Oh,
so
I haven't seen
Drinker tried. Oh, did you have? Well, I'm not gonna say you have to, because like I'm a super huge sci-fi nerd, so like that's like my thing. But I love the movie. I thought more people should see it. I was really sad that it failed at the box office, actually. But anyway, I draw that parallel myself, is that Critical Drinker's talking about the Vietnam War, and he's like, well, this movie is like aping Rogue One. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, Star Wars is based on the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you missed that.
Jeez. Let's see what else. Where was the? I guess there's like the.
Are you looking at clips?
Yeah, I'm just looking to see which ones would be a good one, quick one to show. But
Amazing Fantasy 15 is always interesting.
Oh yeah, okay. Here we go. You know what Amazing Fantasy 15 is, Birdman?
The first Spider-Man story. That's literally the basis for my screen name, the Birdman 15. That's where the 15
yeah.
So
I brought up
this?
Yeah, I brought up to Eric July because I was looking for character motivations for Isom, and he couldn't name them. And I was like, okay, well, what's an example of a comic book we both almost certainly know, and where we can
Has an
talk about
origin.
character motivations. So I was like, okay, here's Amazing Fantasy 15, and yeah, here's the clip where it goes. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
Let's talk about. Go back to Isom. What about it? Are you asking? What specific?
Wait. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
What specific action are you asking pertaining? No. I'm gonna get stuck on this one. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right? Are you what? Let's talk about Isom. You just asked me a question. Let's keep moving the goalposts. What specifically about the?
There are plenty of people that don't know who Spider-Man is, dipshit.
Suffering Steve Ditko, how can you not know that Spider-Man first appeared in 1962's classic Amazing Fantasy number 15?
I was just dumbfounded how somebody who presents himself as a comic book expert on the internet and
we didn't know for sure that he
no
had
idea on Amazing Fantasy 15.
You had to go to his channel to get his chat and kind of time it with your stream or whatever, right? To see when he.
Well, yeah. I had the chat. I had his chat, and then I was looking at that part of the stream, and I was like, "Holy shit, he's looking right at it."
That's so funny, dude.
When you watch the actual debate, you can actually see where he's really buying time until he has the answer essentially.
I'm glad I talked to you guys. There's so much here. This is a rich source of exposal content. Oh my god,
dude.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, whenever just to by the way, I don't know if you saw my tweet whenever, because Bob had a couple weeks ago, whenever you put your first video out, I think Bob in our Discord server had posted and said, hey, he's it's a really good video, but he says that he's the only one that has the balls to do this. And I was like, wait a second, what? So I tweeted and said, hey man, this is a fucking awesome, I think it said it was a solid video, but hey, we've been doing this for a minute.
I mean, I didn't mean to offend. I was saying that
we
I didn't know. I was unaware.
We're not honestly, we want more people to be doing this kind of stuff. There's not a lot of ego involved in it. We're honestly exhausted. So, pick up some slack. We're fine with that.
Yeah,
sure. It's healthy not to read a comment section.
Yeah.
I got another one for you. You should do the Invincible Iron Man number 55. Ask him who's introduced in that.
Do you want to know something crazy, man? Is I had a copy of that and I sold mine to Donnie Cates.
Are you kidding?
I have the fucking the what you call it, PayPal receipt still, because I was just like, that's great, because he was on Twitter and he's like, I'm looking for the first appearance of Thanos and I don't have it, and he's like, I don't care what shape it's in. I was like, good, because this was not in good shape, but you know what I mean. And that's what
now I get to feel like the noob. I had to Google that.
Yeah, it's the first appearance of Thanos, Drax,
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know that Thanos was originally introduced in an Iron Man book. So
I didn't. I honestly didn't, and that's why it's even cooler, kind of, that he became Iron Man's kind of nemesis in the MCU. It kind of works out that way, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's where I was going with it. It's people didn't know that, and they were like, "Well, why is Iron Man fighting Thanos?" It's like, well, I mean, if you go back to the comics, and this is why I always say the books matter. CinemaSense's whole thing is the books don't matter. It's they do, because they do certain things.
It can enrich your appreciation of it.
Exactly. You put it better than
I'd say they do and they don't. It depends how you approach it. And most people abuse it.
I've never said that they matter to the story that film is telling. You don't need to read a book to understand that story. It's just like you said, absolutely. It enriches your experience.
Yes.
So when you know that Thanos was introduced in an Iron Man book, then when you watch Iron Man snapping his fingers and killing Thanos, it's like, oh, I understand why they went with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's so funny. Because I always talk about Amazing Fantasy 15. That's actually the book that got me into comics.
Wow.
When I was a kid, my uncle had a hobby shop, or he worked at a hobby shop in Compton, California, and that book was just there. I knew nothing about comics. My uncle was into them, but his comics were a little bit saucy because they were like a little bit pornographic, and so I kind of went through his collection as a kid. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then they had the Amazing Fantasy 15 just sitting there, and I did not know the significance of that book. Okay, picked it up, read it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool character, and I just started to read comics from then. So
nice.
Yeah, it's so funny that Eric doesn't know Amazing Fantasy. Like that's surprising to me,
dude. He's got
most comic book fans would know that.
Canon's sake, he acts like he's an expert in comics and shit like that, and it's just,
I mean,
it's not true.
One of his criticisms of Miles Morales is that Peter Parker's origin is so unique; it doesn't make sense for someone else to have spider powers. And it's like, what book was that origin in, Eric?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got that real hot take about his origin, but like, what was that in?
Yeah. And and really that's not a gatekeep. It's literally a knowledge check. It's like if you're gonna sit here and pretend like you know everything.
Exactly. That's what because people try to act like that was being gatekeepy whenever it came up, whenever it happened. We're like, no, we're not. We wouldn't do that to just anybody. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the reason I
he didn't even do it
because it was literally the most famous comic book I could think of. Where I was like, okay, yeah, we should
Right.
both be familiar with this. We can discuss this, right?
It's the one that, like, once you start getting into comics and you start wondering, oh, I wonder where these characters first appeared or whatever, because that one stands out in my memory because it's not a number one, actually. It's actually, whoa,
Yeah.
amazing. It's not Spider-Man. It's just Amazing Fantasy 15. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's
And in that book, actually, one of my favorite things is that, okay, so like a lot of people attribute the quote "with great power" to Uncle Ben, but it actually wasn't Uncle Ben who said that first. It was the narrator of that story. It was, and a lot of people get the quote wrong. They say with great power comes great responsibility. No, it's with great power there must also come great responsibility.
Yeah.
They get the quote wrong. So when I watched No Way Home, and then you saw Aunt May get the quote exactly right. That was the first time we've ever seen that quote get exactly right. And people were upset that it was even her that delivered it. It's like,
right.
Well, Uncle Ben didn't deliver it originally. You're talking about the first Spider-Man movie.
I mean, what I thought No Way Home did was kind of unique. Was they gave us the Spider-Man origin. They kind of complete his origin, just not in a way we've seen it before. And I'm thankful for that because I've seen his origin enough already. I think 2002 did a really good job, and I think maybe quit trying to copy that.
Extremely unique take on it. They gave us 3 movies to set up his origin. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and they kind of snuck it in there. I wasn't expecting it by that at that point,
Yeah. No, when spoiler alert, when she's dying, she's giving the speech, it's like, oh my God, they're completing his origin this way. That's so clever.
So if you're a comic book guy, you're like, if you're somebody that fashions yourself as like your whole channel is about comics and like you talk like you're a comic expert and stuff like that, you'd think you'd know what like a legacy character is, right?
Oh, that kills me. Yeah.
What's the problem with the new legacy characters though? Because legacy characters are a comic book tradition.
New legacy character. What do you mean new legacy character? Are
You
you talking
understand-
about
you-
knockoff versions? Is that what you're referring to?
Okay, so you understand what a legacy character is, right?
Yes, I'm asking you for clarification. Can you answer what the question I just had?
Well, I'm trying to understand how you are asking what a legacy character is. A legacy character is simply
I am
a character.
saying, what do you mean by new legacy character? If they're a legacy character, they wouldn't be new.
Oh, wrong.
What? No, legacy characters are characters that carry on the legacy. You understand that, right?
Yes, I understand that, but if it's a legacy character, the character itself has been there and it's ingrained in comic books, as you just said. So what do you mean new?
Because there are new characters created to add on to the legacy. Please don't tell me you're this dumb.
So yeah, everybody, if you go to the Shill Clips channel, you can just grab all them Shill clips. Those.
Oh my God, this is so good. This is so good, dude.
EVS caught line by Bob. Another debate where Bob, caught EVS line. Lying about a lie too. That's just double lie sandwich you caught him in.
That clip was amazing because like you can see the gears turning in his head. Like he doesn't like you can see that he doesn't know what you're talking about. Like
it's tricky because like what does he say at the beginning that kind of indicates that he does. But he's like
he says, "Are you talking about knockoff characters?" And that tells me he knows what legacy character is, and he's just trying to say, "Oh, they're just knockoffs."
And then he kind of pivots to act like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's because his whole thing is just to downplay legacy characters in general. Like basically what they want, these guys don't want to happen. The Miles Morales is not Spider-Man people, like Nerdrotic does that on Twitter and shit. But what they don't want to happen is for Miles Morales, which has already kind of happening, to become, this like Wally West. You know what I mean? Like where it's like he's just as much known and by a lot of people as Barry Allen, who, you know what I mean? Like
and Barry Allen's the second Flash, Jay Garrick's the first. So it's like legacy characters have been a thing. The only time you guys seem to have a problem with the legacy characters when one is black. It's like every time.
When I looked into the history of legacy characters, I found that they are literally ingrained in the very first, essentially, superhero, which was, generally believed as like the Phantom was a character that kind of like, rode the line between pulp hero and superhero. He had a lot of the hallmarks of what became popular superheroes, like the domino mask and the underwear outside and stuff like that. But he was like in canon, the Phantom is like the 16th or 17th one to carry that name and to do that role. Whenever we first encounter him, and like he's from a bloodline that all the men in the family do that. So it's like literally a legacy character is just as much a part of comic book history as having like a superhero origin.
And that's the thing is that this is like one of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons why I call these people grifters. They don't know any of this. And they proclaim to be experts, and they're the mouthpiece that everybody should believe, and they have no clue about the history of a lot of these things. So this right here, what you're saying, is exactly one of the reasons why I would call Eric July a grifter, because he doesn't know that.
I mean, I didn't know it either until I started like having to kind of like fortify my arguments against these people. You know what I mean?
And that's it's okay to not know something, but you didn't present yourself as an expert on the thing. And I think that's the difference. Like when Bob debated him, he's like, legacy character. He's like, what do you mean? Do you mean like the new legacy or the old? Like, what do you mean? Legacy character, dude. Legacy character means legacy character. That's so funny to me.
I've always given him the the kind of benefit of like, look, if I didn't know any better and I didn't know anything about comics and somebody said the legacy character, I can see how you might assume it would be that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the original character would be the legacy character if you didn't know any better, but like he should fucking know better. That's the thing.
Now, when lots of people say that in my comments, I will just tell them Google is not your friend.
Man, because like I've seen these terms get misused far too often. And like in my video, I brought up legacy characters. I said these people don't know what legacy characters means. They think it means like the original. Right. Like, so for example, Dick Grayson, they would. And so I bring up Damian Wayne. I'm like, but you guys don't know what that word even means. Like you're using it incorrectly. Well, I mean, they do that for a lot of words though.
Robin is kind of,
Dick Grayson's technically a legacy character as well. Yeah.
Who was the first Robin?
Well, no, he's not. He's a legacy character of Batman.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
It's like I figured all this out looking into it. And I did a whole stream where I spent hours just digging into the history and like what everything could be. Essentially, it's any character that is like inspired by another character or anything. It doesn't have to be the same motif or anything like that. It's just essentially if it's not a character that started on his own volition, just out of in a vacuum, then it's a legacy character. And Batman, like in current Batman comics, there's so many legacy characters now and it's awesome. They're all like the Bat family, right? Like it makes the comics really enriching to read. Like there's just all these relationships between all of them and stuff that make the characters more well-rounded and stuff like that. It's good shit.
Yeah.
Legacy enriches lore. That's the thing they don't like to hear, but I say it, man. Like legacy is great for a character. It's to give a character, a classic hero or whatever, a legacy is a fucking honor. That's to say this character is important. You know what I mean? Like Spider-Man being passing his mantle to another character and letting him be that. That means that Spider-Man is fucking important. And I've seen people try and act like that it takes away from the original. It's like, no, man, not at all.
And like, wasn't the original story for Miles that his Spider-Man died?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the Ultimate Universe. Yep.
Right. So like for me, it's not even, downplaying that character. That character just died. Like that's a common thing in comic books. And then somebody picks up the mantle. I never understood the issue with Miles Morales.
I just have a couple of panels that I think are relevant to this. If I can find them real quick, but yeah, here they are. So here is one of the times that I know that they've kind of addressed it directly, Spider-Man's. So you got Peter here saying, but also that sounds like something you need to deal with. You have to be Miles, not just Spider-Man. Take it from someone who's learned the hard way. And then he says, I'll check in soon. Promise you, if you'll need help. You'll text if you need help with the clone stuff. And he says, okay, see you around, Spider-Man. I believe the children are the future. That's not the better one. There's another one that's like he actually says something more substantial along the lines of like, heaven forbid if something happens to me, I know Spider-Man will still be there for Aunt May and for his loved ones and stuff like that. And it's like that's good. You know what I mean? That's a powerful point. If Peter dies, there's still going to be a Spider-Man there for the people that Peter loves. Like, I don't know how you can really argue against that, man.
Yeah, for me, I see it as blatant racism. That's just how I see it.
Of course.
And, yeah, it is unique. Yeah, how they're okay with Barry Allen. They're okay with Hal Jordan. They're okay with Johnny Storm. But all of a sudden, if it's just Miles Morales or Sam Wilson, that's an issue. That's an interesting line to draw.
Yeah, I always forget about the Human Torch because like there's an original Human Torch and he became the Vision, right?
Yep. Well, no. I mean, part of him was kind of a little bit, but like then there's also an original Ghost Rider before even Johnny Blaze. There was one. He rode a horse, and then he wore all white, and they kind of changed him up because there's some weird connotations with that whenever you really look at it. With the guy with a white, hood and stuff. But Aleph, man, like, so how many characters have you created, dude? Like, how much work did you put into those?
Oh, are you asking me?
No, I was talking to Aleph in the chat here. Saying that it's a lazy way to create a character or whatever. And it's like, yeah, man, Crypto the Superdog is a fucking legacy character. Absolutely. I don't it's just that's the take of somebody who's never created something in their life. You just know it is. You know what I mean? Like they don't understand character or anything like that. But nonetheless.
Like I get where he's coming from, but like this has been a thing in comic book history since its inception. Like Stan Lee has done this, Ditko has done. Like they've made characters take a mantle for longer than a lot of us have been alive. So I don't understand this take that it's lazy. It's like it's a part of comic book history. So it makes sense that they continue to do that. That's it's like getting upset about characters being in spandex. It's like, dude, that's a part of it.
I guarantee this dude's got characters that he likes that are legacy characters. You know what I mean?
Like, and he just doesn't know.
Hawkeye, that's true. Yeah. And then there's Hawkeye's one where they like to where they'll reveal themselves because they'll say, oh, Hawkeye was just like created in the last few years with all these other characters to be the woke version of Hawkeye. It was like, no, man. Hawkeye, as in Kate Bishop, was created in like the mid 2000s. She was part of the Young Avengers, and she was right out of the gate had the name Hawkeye because if you know your Marvel lore, at that point in the comics, Clint Barton was dead. So
it's a similar situation to Miles Morales and Peter Parker. Is one died. So
okay, that's not a good example. I don't like the way they did that. So. I didn't like when they're like, "Oh, your name's Robin, huh?"
And I actually think I would have liked it better if they were just like, "Oh, your real name's Dick Grayson." No, instead it's like your real name's Robin. It's like,
why?
What?
That was weird.
Yeah,
it's just like the weird thing to kind of wrestle with right at the end of this trilogy. Is like, wait, what? Why'd you throw that in
like,
there?
I'm cool with seeing like maybe like Joseph Gordon-Levitt do a Nightwing thing, but like his name's not Robin. That's weird.
Like for me, it was weird that you decided to throw that in, and you know that your trilogy is ending. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that?
Mm.
Man, I mean, I guess for the point of legacy, to like suggest that there is a legacy that will happen, and maybe I can see that, right? Like even though I'm ending this trilogy, the inspiration of Batman is going to live on, right? Like we're not going to see it literally, but you just know that it happens, kind of thing.
I'm one of those guys that I like sequels. You know, I like sequels and prequels and interquels. I love that shit. So like, show me his story, please.
Yeah.
So that's where I was disappointed. I'm like, oh my god, because I like Joseph. You know, I'm like, I would love to see him as Robin. So just do it. But like, you're gonna leave us with that? Ah, dang it.
Hawkeye isn't popular. You mean among comics fans? Of course he is. He's like the character that speaks truth to power in the Avengers. He's
Yes.
you know,
Kate Bishop was
he
great
always
because Hawkeye's not a popular character.
Well, see, the thing about Hawkeye, like if you read Avengers books, he's the audience analog.
Yeah.
He's the one that's there that's like, I'm in a crazy situation with all these crazy, powerful people, you know?
Well,
so I've always appreciated Hawkeye for that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and like they executed that really well in Age of Ultron. It's a flawed movie, but like there's the scene where he's given you know, Wanda the kind of pep talk when they're in that.
He does say that. Yeah, that's true. That's right.
mean,
he's like,
I do think Age of Ultron's the worst Avengers movie, but I also feel it's underrated. Joss Whedon aside, who is a dick, but I think Age of Ultron's totally decent. Oh.
I guess you are, man. I guess you're the only real comics fan around here. No, that's Dean. He's a good dude. He's got his own comics that he works on. By the way, what's updated on what's going on, man? Where's the new issues of Jake Sunrise and shit? Is there going to be some more Cosmo Natalia? Gotta give me the updates. Yeah, Fractions Hawkeye was good shit. Yes, which is, I mean, they based it the show a good bit on that. So, well, I am tired. Man, this has been a good stream, good conversation.
Yeah, it's good talk to you, Birdman.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here, man. You know, I never really get like recognition like that where people are like, "Hey, come on a stream." You know, I've done that with JXC before. You know,
yeah, I think we've done a stream together actually years ago because I did a couple JXC streams back in the day.
Oh, really?
Before EFAP decided they hated me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you decided you hated them first, Bob, and then you.
That is true.
You know what
that
you
is
did.
True.
You know what you did.
I became a target of a Rags video.
Yeah. Why'd you do that, man?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have brought up Amazing Fantasy 15. That, you know, that's a trigger.
I mean, I do feel like that debate is part of the reason why they don't want to talk to us.
Probably. I mean, yeah, man. I read lots of stuff besides superhero comics, for sure. I mean, what's your point?
Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure. You know, I'm just happy to be here. I, you know, give my.
I mean, y'all can keep going, Bob. If you wanted to stay on, I just gotta go. So.
Oh no, I am actually quite tired myself. I need to make dinner.
Right on. Did you get comics today, man?
Oh yeah, no, I got comic books. Oh yeah, and I'll be streaming tomorrow because I'm tired right now. But yeah,
what
I got
you got going on, Birdman? You got anything coming up that you want to?
Well, like I said, I'm working on another exposing the grift video. I suspect that'll be out in the next couple of days or so. I have a few real life things I got to get done, but yeah.
Right on.
And like I haven't stopped making everything wrong with videos. That's still a thing. So, you know, some people were wondering if I had stopped. It's like, no, I'm still doing that. So that's really it.
The Birdman is his channel link is in the description wherever you're watching it. So do that. Yeah, and looking forward to the next one, man. Looking forward to, you know, having a conversation again. Anytime you want to, you know, doors open. You're welcome to come by. You know, we don't have guests on every week, but like you know, we'd be cool to. Just not a lot of people that, you know, are really in this niche of talking about this stuff. So
awesome. And hopefully if by the next time I join, we can talk about Agatha and see how that went, because it comes out tonight, right? So
okay, yeah, I'll
be
checking that out then.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, you guys have a good one. I'm actually going to play your a little bit of some Cinema Sins here on the way out the door. So,
okay,
nice.
Y'all have a good one. Like and subscribe. And then I just Bob stream tomorrow. I'll be streaming Friday.
Nice.
And peace.
Thank y'all.
Oh, sorry.
Movies that make COVID an unnecessary part of the plot.
Except I wouldn't exactly label it as unnecessary when it was used to characterize the characters in the dock scene by their mask choice was the reason for the painting and because the film is set in 2020. Do you honestly expect any show or movie set in 2020 to ignore the biggest event in human history in decades? Seriously?
It's from Miles.
Not understanding the dynamics of a live broadcast feed.
Would be a great sin if she was live at the time he said that.
Props crew prop for making this an actual stereogram, but if you're going to design a hidden button, don't you think it should be somewhere a little more off-center? Finding the box's click Taurus should be much more difficult.
Imagine not being able to find the literal top of a vagina so often that this is the joke you went with.
Also, this marks Angela Lansbury and Stephen Sondheim's final appearances on film, so here are a couple more sins for these legends no longer being among us.
Everything wrong with Glass Onion. Actors died in real life, so the movie is responsible for that.
Lockdown hasn't been easy for any of us. But Philip told me you haven't left the bath for a week.
Baths are gross, even at reasonable amounts of time. You're basically just stewing in your own filth. Add to that, once you're in there for a while, the water gets cold. I'm just saying, I don't care how bored he is. I'm guessing Blanc isn't likely to sit there long enough to be germ soup or freeze his Benoit balls off.
I'll never be able to square in my head Jeremy telling the creators of a property how likely or unlikely a character they created would do something. I swear, audience members have gotten too bold.
You know, watching Top Gun Maverick the other day and thinking about what the actors and film crew must have gone through to actually capture that air combat footage, it really hammered home something that's been pissing me off about modern movies for a long time now. A phenomenon that I could best describe as CGI overloads.
The Darkstar was made available to the production, but it didn't fly, so it's completely CGI. The good old F-14 doesn't fly anymore. It's all CGI. The enemy's 5th generation fighters, they don't exist. They're all CGI. And in the entire dogfight, at the end of the movie, you're watching 100% CGI.
And on the face of it, it should have resulted in a better end product. After all, CGI doesn't rely on actors hitting their mark.
CGI totally relies on actors hitting their marks, and that's one of the biggest struggles. You have to get them to get their eye lines correct, and you have to get them to react to this thing that doesn't exist as though it does exist.
It's controllable, it's predictable, it's safe.
If you're not an artist, don't expect the computer to do it for you, because it ain't gonna do nothing.
It's controllable, it's predictable, it's safe, it's controllable, it's predictable, it's safe, it's controllable, predictable, it's controllable, predictable, it's cost effective.
The idea that CGI is more cost effective than practical effects is a myth.
And that's not even talking about what the fucking actors have to work with now, just actors standing around.
Bro, I'm built like a goddamn brick.